W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
All kinds of action on deck as we welcome you on into the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for checking us out at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free to download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps, and also on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Are we happy for Toronto?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
happy
so,
for
yeah.
Toronto. I mean, look, I'm not a Yankee fan, so if I was a Yankee fan, I might feel differently. But Ernie Clement is a Rochester guy, and we got our guy in the World Series. Now, it's unfortunate that they have to be a sacrificial lamb to the tyrants of the Los Angeles Dodgers, but here we are. Maybe they get one, but I'm sticking to my claim that the Dodgers are not losing another game this postseason.
I think they get one. I'm not going to call for a sweep here. I'm thinking maybe if you can get a split in Toronto off the bat. We got to wait until Friday. Great theater last night, though.
Oh,
fantastic,
amazing. Yeah. That's why you have George Springer, right? He's an assassin. He's an absolute dream crusher. We've seen this movie from him so many times before, and now he does it in Toronto just like he did for years in Houston, and they advance. And, man, you thought everything was going Seattle's way, right? You get the J-Rod homer, you get the big dumper going yard, and Springer rips your heart out. Absolutely rips out your soul.
It's amazing to me. Like, every few years we get a "What are you thinking, Mr. Manager?" And I go back to the World Series where Blake Snell is on the mound for the Rays when he pitched then, and he's pitching a heck of a game. And the manager there, Cash, analytics. We're gonna go with this other guy. Well, I don't think it was analytics. I think it was just common sense last night. Where you were in the game in the meat of the order, runners on base, bring in your best guy. Well, you're 9 outs away? What are you doing?
Right.
Munoz should have come in.
Right.
You when they cut away and the look on Woo's face, like, that just said it all to me. Like, what are you doing? So, yes, great at bat for Springer. Don't wait on the pitch. Must have been very exciting.
Great vibes. Also, great vibes at Rogers Center. You know, they're Canadian, so they're all, going to be a little bit friendlier. And, I was talking with a coworker about it earlier today. Like, the energy in that place was fantastic. The vibes are great, but they're so friendly. They're so happy. They're so polite. Contrast that to what it would have been like if that game or that occurrence would have happened at maybe Yankee Stadium, right? Like, we hold Yankee Stadium, but it would not have been that classy. That atmosphere would have been raucous.
Yeah.
Just different. It's just a different sort of fandom. Or in Philly.
Well, the first time you go up to a Jays game and they crack out the theme song, you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Let's play ball.
They're just goofy. They're just goofy Canadians. I love them.
Happy.
Yeah. They're just happy-go-lucky, friendly and polite, and they've got their team in the World Series. It all gets underway Friday north of the border.
Yeah. Then we had two games last night where Detroit looks great, don't they?
Detroit looks like when they turn it on, they could be impossible to beat, but we just saw them get beat by Kansas City. So, I mean, like, are they upper echelon, or are they look great, but they also look inconsistent? How do you explain week one? How do you explain the stinker against Kansas City? They looked great last night. I feel horrible for Mike Evans. I feel horrible for that dude. That guy wants to play more than anything. That's a football player. That's a guy that wants another 1,000-yard receiving season. He's not going to get it this year.
Well,
comes back from an injury, probably prematurely, and then breaks his collarbone, giving it his all on a catch.
You could tell that Buck and Aikman, I think they did a great job last night, because the way that Evans went down and he's not getting back up, and he can barely get up. You're like, okay, I don't know what that is. It doesn't feel like a concussion to me. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you knew right away, and then he couldn't even make it onto the cart there to come off. So I hate seeing that. Funny how the league, we say week-to-week league, it's never more evident when it comes to the MVP conversation.
Oh, right.
Like the MVP will be whoever is hot week 16 and 17 in the league because Baker Mayfield, my gosh, give him the MVP. He's the MVP. And, yeah, some of those balls were sailing high last night. He did not look like, for as good as Detroit looked, Baker did not look good. There were plays to be had last night. So I'm not going to fault Baker Mayfield. He's having a great season. It's not shameful to lose to the Lions.
Daniel Jones is your MVP. Daniel Jones, MVP.
We're going to get to that point.
It's going to happen. We're going to have that conversation.
No, but the conversation is also going to be from like the Binkleys of the world. Patrick Mahomes is leading this team, and we'll get to that point.
Of course.
Will we get to a point, Danger, where, Josh, could he actually repeat? We haven't had that conversation.
We haven't seen enough.
Week 1, wow, amazing. Yeah. Here's a comeback. Let me pull it out of your hat. Ha-ha, 41-40. Hey, he could repeat. And then after that.
And it's not just a quarterback. It's also at all the positions, right? Like James Cook was the talk of the league through 4 weeks as well. He's tied for the league lead in touchdowns. Look at everything he's doing. Buffalo looks great. James Cook looks like he's a value. Last 2 weeks, not so much. We haven't talked a lot about James Cook. James Cook is one of their best players on offense. James Cook should be featured as much, if not more, than Josh Allen's arm. Just one of the many conversations we'll be having later this hour when we're joined by Matt Perino, who covers the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard and also the co-host of the Shout podcast.
All right, so the Bills, you can't say must win in October, but if you want to contend, you're not losing to Carolina on the road. You're just not. I'm sorry. A lot of moving pieces this week, too. You have a potential return for Maxwell Harrison. That would be shocking, but his practice window is open. How do you reintegrate now the two guys who were actually on the 53, Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi? Could there be other player personnel moves that are just based on, hey, we're going to try something different, whether that's at the safety, whether that's at a linebacker position? We'll talk to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard Shout podcast, coming up at the bottom of this hour.
We'll be checking in with Rochester Americans head coach Mike Leone, his usual Tuesday afternoon stop-in at 4:25.
Good for the Sabres. They're sending UPL down. It's conditioning.
Yeah.
So I've got to kind of refresh on that. How many games do you get? Is it 3, 4? UPL will be here, and that is going to be a big stretch here for the Amerks. They play Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday in Cleveland. So 2 home games Wednesday and Friday. We'll talk to the head coach of the Rochester Americans, Mike Leone. That is coming up at the bottom of the 4 p.m. hour.
We'll get some fantasy football talk in before we get to happy hour at 5 o'clock. Our buddy Michael F. Florio from NFL Network will help you make your waiver claims for Week 8 in the NFL.
Yeah, and oops, if you haven't peeked ahead to the schedule this week, it's something you got to pay attention.
6 teams on bye.
Detroit, Vegas, Rams, Arizona, Seattle, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It's
going to be thin.
It's not quite Bimageddon, but you probably have Detroit or maybe in Jigba or a piece of the Rams offense. This is one where, okay, what can you go shop at the 5 and dime? We'll talk to Michael F. Florio right at the end of the 4 o'clock hour.
And before we cut out for last call today, we'll be joined again by RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas just before 6 o'clock.
Air Force comes in this weekend, so
nice.
That's always it's a fun weekend. That's always obviously a disciplined team, and that's going to be another contender in Atlantic hockey. And to me, the Tigers, all right, they're down 1-0 to Clarkson, a Clarkson team who beat Penn State. And I'm at this game, and there's a couple odd man rushes. I'm thinking, okay, this is just not going to be the Tigers' night. And then a funny thing happened. The game just completely flipped. The Tigers scoring 5 of the next 6. Like, what on earth? How did the Tigers all of a sudden hit the switch? We'll talk to Matt Thomas on what was a great night downtown. We'll look a week to the weekend ahead here. Matt Thomas, RIT Men's Hockey.
Your calls are always welcome. You can join us in the sports bar at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. That's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman Line, award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Can we start with a trade rumor? Because this doesn't concern the Buffalo Bills, but I think back to all those off-season conversations we had, Danger, regarding, hey, is there a possibility the Bills could go land a big fish here in terms of a pass rusher? And look, we like Greg Rousseau, but he's not the guy that you really got a game plan for. He's solid, but no, he's not a top echelon rusher. And we looked at Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett putting out a statement. He wants to no, he just wanted a raise in Cleveland, which he got, good for him. At the end of, the camp, you had Micah Parsons. Wow, this really is a thing. Oh, my gosh, Dallas traded him. I cannot believe that. Trey Hendrickson ended up re-signing. Trey Hendrickson not healthy. I didn't know that the contract for Max Crosby was so backloaded that the Raiders could move off of him. Most of the bonuses come a little later here, Danger. And because of that, you have chatter now that the Cowboys are trying to make a trade for Max Crosby, which on the surface, if the Raiders are out of it and if they're really committed to building this the right way, they should entertain that. And if you're the Cowboys, hey, I don't think this is how Jerry drew it up all along, but obviously they had the space there at one point. Pay this to Max Crosby. Inevitably, when we have these conversations, we bring it back to the Buffalo Bills. Should the Buffalo Bills be involved in something like this? Trey Hendrickson's on the wrong side of 30. Max Crosby is 28. Max Crosby has this nasty streak to him, and if the Cowboys are being floated out there, was that the Raiders putting that out, or is that the Cowboys putting that out? Where is that coming from?
Who's putting it out? We always want to trace it back to who benefits from that news getting out. And, my guess is it would be the Cowboys, because the Cowboys always have to be in the news cycle. The Cowboys always have to be the talk of the league.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is truth to the idea that the Raiders are shopping Max Crosby, why not Buffalo? What would it take? What would it take to pry him away from Vegas so that the Bills could have what I think they desperately need, an elite pass rusher on that defensive line? Do you have the contract in front of you, Gino? Do you know the terms? Do you know what it would take? Because I know the first objection would be like, oh, the Bills can't afford it, or the Bills win it, or their draft pick isn't going to be as good as Dallas's draft pick. It's pretty close. And we said that about Micah Parsons, and the Packers and the Bills, they generally pick around the same spot late in the first round.
Yeah, it's his base for 25 was at 32.5. But if now we're cutting that in half, that's really what we're talking about here. So the team that has to account for this, you're looking at, somewhere around 15? Now for the Bills, they really don't have that space. You would have to kind of, go to your usual suspects. And I don't know who that would be. Some people would have to restructure. But Dallas has that space. Now the cap hit for the Raiders would be really brutal. It'll be somewhere between 40 and 70 to make this work. So that's why I'm thinking this is not coming from the Raiders. This is coming from maybe the Cowboys trying to save face a little bit here. But if it really wasn't true, wouldn't you shut this down right now if you're the Raiders? Like, this is a core guy? Or if you're Max Crosby, I don't want to go anywhere? I mean,
We get the sense that, Crosby, like anybody, would probably take a better job, but it's not like he's going to make more money going to play for Dallas. He's making what he's making. He's under contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the opportunity there for him to make the postseason? That remains to be seen. I think Dallas is another team that's kind of inconsistent week in and week out. They look sometimes like they could be a playoff team, and then there's other times where they look completely incompetent. Maybe that lack of a pass rusher like a Parsons or a Max Crosby is part of that. Yeah, that's interesting. That's got to be Jerry floating that out. Are the owners meeting right now? There's owners meetings going on?
Yeah, the owners meetings, and the one owner who spoke is the owner with the team with the best record. No, by best I mean worst. Worst record in the league. That would be the New York Jets. Woody Johnson commenting on his team, and it wasn't on his head coach, Danger.
No, he basically threw Justin Fields under the bus. It would help if we could complete some passes.
That was it.
I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. It's hard when you have a quarterback with the rating he's got. I mean, he has ability, but something is not jiving. You have to consistently play the position. It'd be good if we could complete a pass. It would look good.
It would look good if we could complete a pass. That's the Justin Fields I know.
What, 30
That's
million,
the Justin Fields I know.
30 million in guarantees, probably. That,
God bless him.
Yeah. And bench for Tyrod.
Yep. And Tyrod looks like he's going to get the start against the Bengals here coming up in Week 8. Just awesome. Completely eviscerating Justin Fields.
So what happened? I watched that Week 1 game. You did too. It was actually pretty entertaining. It was the Steelers and the Jets. Like, wow, I didn't know Aaron Rodgers still had them. Wow, maybe the Jets have something here. And it came down to a play at the end where I believe it went to Wilson and was broken up. I came away thinking, okay, maybe Justin Fields, they've unlocked something. And then the Bills just destroyed him. And then after that, it just hasn't been the same here.
He was concussed against the Bills. Tyrod's starting Week 3. And but this is the Justin Fields that I know. This is the Justin Fields I saw struggle in Chicago. This is what you get. This is who he is. He doesn't process. He can't get rid of it. He relies too much on his instincts to try and play the game because he got through high school and college playing a certain way. And it don't work that way in the NFL. They will get you. They will catch up to you if you can't process, if you can't perform within structure, you will be exposed. And he's been exposed. And frankly, he was exposed in Chicago. Pittsburgh gave him renewed life through the first quarter of last season, enough so that the Jets thought it'd be a good idea to sign him for 2. But this is Justin Fields to a T. Great athlete, not a great quarterback. Unbelievable athlete, poor quarterback.
Great college quarterback.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, you have to throw guys open. Heck, rarely are guys actually open. When you're playing high school ball, okay, read 1, read 2. Oh, you're open. There you go. You
can reach out to us on X. That's Elon's Twitter, @TheFanRochester. Steve reaching out to us earlier today with the news that Brandon Graham is back with the Philadelphia Eagles, signing out of retirement. And Steve just commenting, so it's not just the Bills. No, I don't think it's just the Bills, Steve. I think a lot of NFL teams, in fact, I think most NFL teams stick with their guys. The guys that they're familiar with, the guys that they know, the path of least resistance. How much time do we have to take to onboard this person? Nope, no time at all. Perfect. Bring them on. We don't have the time to onboard anybody.
If you had to say who is the next guy the Bills could bring back, I have a name in mind. How about Harrison Phillips? He's like, the Jets aren't going anywhere. Harrison Phillips, remember the Jets traded for him in Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking more along the lines of guys that are still out there that, you could coax maybe to come back. Like, I know Amari Cooper hung it up, but like that feels like a guy that if the Bills came calling, he'd be like, maybe, yeah. Unless he hated his time in Buffalo, I don't know.
This doesn't qualify for that, but doesn't it feel like the Bills are going to, in terms of their competition, a wide receiver, go with the guy in-house? Like, oh, wait, Gabe Davis is healthy now.
Oh,
Let's elevate Gabe Davis.
Hey, where's Eli Anku? Is he out there anywhere? We need him back on the practice squad somehow.
Dane Jackson, where did he go to?
Is he still on the practice squad?
No.
He's gone? No. So Brandon Graham, who spent the last 15 seasons playing with the Eagles, is signing back with the team. So the defensive end back with Philadelphia, making that announcement this morning on his podcast, Unblocked. Thanks for the tweet, Steve. Oh, and Peter also reaching out to us on X. Peter's our official pollster. He likes to put the polls up on X. And he put up the poll, who are you picking for Survivor Football this week? Ooh. The 4 options in Peter's poll are the Falcons, the Bengals, the Patriots, and the Colts. Don't worry, Peter. I'm not going to let you down. I'm not going to let any of you down. We are going to pick a Week 8 winner. We're going to advance to Week 9, and I will share that pick in about 40 minutes.
If you're new to the show, this was always my bet until I screwed it up and picked Arizona this
Gene
year.
is a man of exquisite taste and passion, and he loves Survivor football pools. Just loves them. Because you won it one year. You've tasted sweet victory in a Survivor
I'm
pool.
still chasing it. Chasing the dragon of Survivor football danger. It's not fun. And for you, what week was this? 4? Said 5. No. Don't take Arizona. I know Tennessee is bad. The pick here would be the Detroit Lions in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And those games are going on simultaneously. And third quarter, I'm up 21-3.
Feeling pretty good.
Tennessee. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I'm moving on. And then the loss of losses in Survivor football. And we come back Monday, and they just like, well, I get to take over the bit here now. Fantastic. So I sit here, with my mouth gagged.
I will not lead you astray.
Chained to the chair.
I will not lead you astray like some people in the sports bar will. I will give you winners. I will give you winners, and we are going to ride this thing out, and you're going to win your Survivor pool. And here we are, week 8, and I've got my pick. And do I feel confident about this pick? Yes, I do. There's a lot of options. I'm going to give you the one I'm going with.
So just a quick thought on this, because if I were doing it, I'd seriously consider the Colts, because they right now are, as they say these days, the wagon. It is a divisional game.
It's a divisional game.
It's a divisional game.
And we know the rules. We'll re-educate everyone on the rules, our criteria for a foolproof, stone cold lock of a win for Survivor football. We'll go over those rules here coming up around 4 o'clock. We'll give our Survive in Advance Week 8 pick. Matt Perino covers the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. Fresh from the bye week. Yeah, the beat guys get a little bit of a break here in the middle of the season as well. But we got a lot to get to, a lot of questions that we need answered as we get ready for the trip to Charlotte and the Bills taking on Carolina with kickoff at 1 o'clock. Pre-game coverage getting underway here on The Fan Rochester Sunday morning at 9. Matt Perino next on The Fan.
Rochester Sports Update.
One last day of rest for the Bills coming off the bye. They're back at practice tomorrow. Carolina, the opponent, coming up on Sunday. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky talking about that Panther defense.
Buffalo is going to see more abnormal defensive line movement than they have all season long. Carolina does a lot of unique defensive line movements. They'll almost do like run games. And so that creates just a lot of chaos. And so from an offensive perspective, it's like, what scheme do you feel can handle that initially?
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and the Shout podcast will be joining us next to talk some Bills. Busy week coming up for the Emirates. 3-day games coming up. Starting tomorrow night, Syracuse is the opponent. Emirates head coach Mike Leone joins us next hour. NBA season begins tonight. Houston and Oklahoma City, Golden State facing the Lakers. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Well, we're going to see two very run-heavy offenses, and you're just looking at the run statistics from the last few weeks from this Panthers team. I mean, 210 yards, 139 yards, and they banged out another 230-yard game a few weeks back. Like, they can hit the ground with that young man who came over from the Cowboys. You're going to see a defense that hasn't let up more than 80 yards rushing the last 3 weeks. That's super impressive. So it'll be two of the best things against one another, right? A very stout run defense against a very good running offense with the Bills, and then you have a very alive run game with the Carolina Panthers.
Former Bills center Mitch Morse breaking down the matchup this weekend between the Bills and the Panthers as we get set for Matt Perino joining us in a few here from the Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast.
No rain on Sunday, so just kind of overcast. 66 they're calling for in Charlotte. So
We'll take it.
Charlotte, one of those really nondescript cities. Went there once, and it's kind of.
I feel like it's become a transient city where a lot of New Yorkers move to. I have friends that have left New York State to go live in Charlotte. It's not quite the South, but it's the South, right? It's a little bit nicer. It's a little bit more new. It's a lot more new. It's an emerging city. It's an emerging market.
Still no baseball. And the football stadium feels really, although they're getting like a big upgrade to it, correct? Like downtown.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, apparently so.
I mean, you've got your billionaire owner that is kind of petulant. I would imagine he's eventually going to get what he wants because he probably never hears the word no. We need a new stadium. No. What? Do you know who I am? David Tepper. I'll throw a drink at you and I will get what I want. Look, I've been saying all week, blowout. This has to be a statement. The Bills don't fart around with Carolina. Beat them by double digits. Really put a hurt on them. Really make a statement. You're coming off your bye. Reestablish the run game that was so effective for the first 4 weeks against a good run defense, as you heard there from Mitch Morse. And defensively, don't give Andy Dalton anything. Don't give their run game. Commit to stopping the run and force Andy Dalton to try and beat you with his arm. Come on. I mean, this is not.
It's not complicated.
This doesn't seem like it would be a real challenging.
All right,
plan.
so hear me out. Jordan Poyer still can tackle Danger.
I don't want Jordan Poyer out
No. You don't need him, being way back there. You're dropping him down. What you're saying basically is making sure that you have 8 guys. Do you go with a standard 4-3 for this game? Bills tried that out against the Ravens. Didn't go so well. But
you also have the reinforcements here on the defensive line with Ogunjobi and Hoyt now returning from suspension. So what does that look like defensively? What does that look like in terms of being able to stop the run? Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowell. I just anything less than a double-digit win, I will struggle to accept for the Buffalo Bills, especially knowing you're hosting the Chiefs next weekend. That's you need that momentum. I feel like you need that momentum going into the Chiefs game.
I feel like there's some gray area there because if it's a double-digit win, but it's something like 20-3 and the offense is looking sputterish, we're not going to feel so good. I think the offense can overcome anything. Well, when they're playing at their capabilities, right? That's kind of the problem. We didn't see that in Atlanta, certainly. 20 points didn't cut it against the Patriots. And sure, we're holding this offense to a high standard, but we know there's more to be had there. So can the
We should hold them to a high standard.
Yeah.
The quarterback is the reigning MVP. 30 points a game is not something that they should be able to get 30 points a game with that offense, with James Cook, with that line, with Josh Allen. I don't think that that's too much to ask for, especially when you see teams like the Colts and the Lions doing it with regularity. You have the ability to get 30 points a game offensively. They've just been off. They've been off the last 2 weeks. And the hope is that the bye straightens some things out, and they're ready to go as they take on Carolina this weekend.
Matt is doing another media commitment, so he's going to give us a call as soon as he's done here.
All right, so let's do this. Let's take another quick break, and we'll come back on the other side. Matt Perino, covering the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard, will join us. We'll still give our Survive in Advance pick here shortly after 4 o'clock. We'll also be joined less than an hour from now from Amherst head coach Mike Leone as he stops by the sports bar with his weekly update. More on the way here on The Fan Rochester.
Sports leader, the Fan Rochester at home by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Buffalo Bills, fresh from their bye week, getting back on the practice field tomorrow and covering the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard. Also the co-host of the Shout podcast, as we do every week at this time. Matt Perino joins us in the sports bar. And Matt, I've been saying all week, blowout or bust. I mean, like, you're coming off a bye week. It's Carolina. You're probably facing their backup quarterback. Kansas City's on deck. They're not looking ahead to Kansas City, but this should be a statement. They should absolutely throttle this team. And the thing I think more than anything that we want to, at least that I want to see, is how do they deploy two new pieces that have been suspended for the first 6 weeks? Do you have any sense of what Ogunjobi and Hoyt's role will be in their first game in Buffalo, or for Buffalo, coming off of suspension?
Yeah, so I guess to start, I get the sentiment, right? Like, it's looked so bad at times over the last two games that on the road against a Panthers team that, sure, they've won 3 in a row, but how real is that, and who have they played, and all those things. I get all of that. And I agree. I do think the Bills should be able to score a lot, figure out, get right offensively, especially if Dalton Kincaid is back and healthy. I think he's apparently way more important to this offense than even the most bullish Dalton Kincaid fans going into the season believed he was. And, I think they have to go on the road and get right defensively. And I've maintained that, like, Michael Hoyt isn't some Superman waiting to put on a cape that's going to fix all the problems. What I do think he gives you is he gives you an energy, a durability, and just a vibe to the way that he plays that I think this defense needs right now. They need somebody to come in and really be a tone setter in a lot of ways, and maybe lift a lot of guys. I was doing a little research on Hoyt because I'm writing about him for tomorrow, and or maybe later in this week, I don't know yet. And back last season, the LA Rams had rebuilt their defense, especially their defensive line, and they were just getting bulldozed through the first 6 or 7 games. Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic wrote a big takeout on this, and they had a lot of questions to answer. And Hoyt and a lot of these other guys, they figured things out. They got their run defense in a really good spot. He's gone through this before, and I think he's somebody that I think that you could throw out there for 50 to 60% of the snaps this week and hope for an impact. I don't think you need to ask Ogunjobi to do that much. I think that he can be that 35 to 45% interior backup behind Ed Oliver, who's playing a chunk of snaps. And we've seen what Deion Walker has already done. I feel like Deion Walker is probably that guy that is going to start to play over even Daquan Jones when he's healthy. We'll see how serious that calf injury is. But I think both of them are going to play. Both of them are going to have roles. I would expect Hoyt to play a little more.
Yeah, what was eye-opening to me, Matt, and you were right. So what a week this has been, right? When we talked this time last week, it was right after the loss to Atlanta, and Bernard didn't have a good game. And Bernard has not lived up to what we would think he should be playing. You pointed that out. Now, well, his status for this week, like as we're entering this week, like give us a refresher here. What are some of Bernard being right at the top though in terms of like injury question marks we have for the Buffalo Bills entering this game?
Yeah, I think that it hasn't been the start of the season that I think anybody hoped for. Probably Bernard more than anybody. I mean, coming off of that contract extension, he's a pretty proud guy. I'd imagine he'd want to be playing a little bit better. If he can't go, I don't think it's necessarily the end of the world. I think Shaq Thompson at the middle linebacker spot, because of his history with McDermott, knowing this defense, versatility, I don't think that that's a horrible thing. And I think maybe, we've spent so much time talking about Dorian Williams and Terrell Bernard when they've been on the field together, like building that chemistry. Like sometimes I think the chemistry is less important when you have a guy that's played as much as Shaq Thompson has played. And so I think Matt Milano has done a lot for Bernard when they've been able to be out there together, and obviously it's not been a lot. And I think that maybe Thompson can have a similar effect on Williams. So I know there's some Bills fans that are hoping to see Thompson and Williams regardless. We'll see what the status is of Milano, too. I know it was week to week. They're probably going to let that get as close to 100% as possible at this point because you throw him out there after a couple of weeks, he re-injures the same pec injury. that's probably something you want to take a little bit slower. But I don't think you have any problems going with Thompson and Dorian Williams if you have to.
Matt, when we last saw Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop, it was bad. It wasn't good. And we actually saw Jordan Poyer on the field a little bit in Atlanta. What combination do you think we see against Carolina? Do we see Poyer suit up again? What do you think Sean McDermott does here with his secondary that got gashed against the Falcons?
It's a great question, and I'm sure it's going to be asked, and everybody will be watching to see if there's any changes that are made. I think with the Carolina Panthers up next, the Bills could really maybe go one more round with Taylor Rapp and see what it looks like, to see if he responds in any kind of way. Because as much as everybody might think this is a pushover game, this is a team that is running the absolute heck out of the football right now. And it's mostly Rico Dowdle. They got a bit of a conundrum at their hands because since Chuba Hubbard came back last week, he's not running the ball the same way that Dowdle is, and it feels like they wanted this to be a shared backfield when it really should be Dowdle's show at this point. I mean, he had 2 back-to-back 200-yard rushing games. I don't know how you go away from that, especially with the Bills, who are literally dead last in the NFL in run defense DVOA through 6 games. So I don't know. I have been advocating for a look at Jordan Poyer or Jordan Hancock. I think they'd probably start with Poyer because of his history in the defense and that veteran leadership, and maybe that would help out Cole Bishop a little bit. But it wouldn't surprise me if they go one more with Taylor Rapp and see if he can't have the kind of game that I think we saw in a few spots last year where he played really, really well. And I don't know, is he just shot? He's not, he's in the prime of his career age-wise. This is a very interesting regression. And, even when he played quote-unquote poorly last year at times, it wasn't as bad as it's been this season. So I'll be interested to see the 8 missed tackles, though. That's one thing that's got to be really eating at Sean McDermott.
Yeah, I mean, one player that I liked during camp, Matt, but it got cut a little short due to injury, Hancock. Where is he at in his development? Do you think that's a viable option? Let me draw the analogy. You had a situation with Tre'Davious White. Hey, maybe we'll try something different. And they sprinkled in Dorian Strong until he got hurt, and I kind of like that plan. Could we see Hancock perhaps getting a few reps?
A few reps? No. I don't think that they're going to do a shared safety spot. I don't think Sean wants to do that, and he's even alluded to that a few times. If they make the change to Hancock, they're going to make the change to him. And I don't know if they're there yet necessarily. The other part of it is for better or for worse, I do think that there's a hesitation to go with young players. And that's something that Taylor Rapp's played so poorly that to not go to Jordan Hancock, they have to be seeing something in practice that's holding them back from making that decision. Maybe he's just not ready from a communication standpoint or whatever, but I don't know, you need somebody that's a little bit better in, tackling, number one, but also recognition and, reacting. And that's where Taylor Rapp's left the most to be desired. So I would not have any issue. I tweeted it in the game. Try a Jordan, Poyer or Hancock, pick one, just to see what it looks like, to see if it's any different. So if the Bills make that change this week, I'm in favor of it. I support it. I just, knowing this regime and knowing the kind of stock they put into Taylor Rapp as a starter on this defense and one of the leaders of this defense, post Poyer Hyde, that's a huge statement that would be made if they sit him down and say, you're no longer the starting safety. We're going with a guy that wasn't even on a roster 2 months ago before the Bills brought him back to the practice squad, or a 5th-round rookie.
Matt, on the offensive side of the ball, the last 2 games we've seen the Bills look less than coordinated, and you could say that maybe that has to do with them not running the ball as efficiently as they did the first 4 weeks of the season. That's something I'm looking for as well against Carolina. The Bills' ability to establish the run and to see James Cook look like the James Cook we saw the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and this is also a Carolina team in their 3-game win streak that has done a really good job of limiting teams in their run games. And I mean, the Jets aren't really a good example. I mean, Breece Hall hasn't, really run it against anybody this season. But even against Dallas, I mean, Dak Prescott had a really good game but it wasn't really their run game that did anything in that game. 13 carries for 29 yards for Javonte Williams. Same thing against the Miami Dolphins the week before that started their whole win streak when Devin Achane ran for 10 times for 16 yards. So this is going to be a challenge for the Bills to right the ship. Now, I'd imagine they'll be a little bit healthier. It felt like, Spencer Brown missed a game in there in the first 6. Connor McGovern was a little bit banged up. I think even Dion was banged up for a second in a game, if I remember properly. So they were definitely dealing with some nicks and bruises. I think that the bye week gets this offensive line healthy. They can kind of go back and reassess 13 personnel. So not having Kincaid also affects their ability to put defenses in a bind. Are they going to run it or are they going to pass it when they go 13? I mean, that's this year's jumbo package. And when you're not able to run that at the same level, that's an issue. And I think there's also, I know he had the touchdown catch, but where's Dawson Knox in all of this? Like this is a guy that you're paying $12 million per season. And I don't know, in a game like 2 weeks ago, I know he makes that nice touchdown grab, but you'd like him to be able to step up a little bit more, I think, in the passing game as well. And there's so much that goes into the conversation around who's getting open. Are enough guys getting open? Is Josh not seeing them? Is it a schematic thing with Joe Brady? I mean, this has been the thing that's been talked about for the last 2 weeks ad nauseum. And this is an opportunity for them to figure out some things. And I think you want Josh Allen to look a little bit less flustered in this game. Like Derek Brown is phenomenal. Like the middle of their defense, he's really going to be a problem to handle. But outside of him, they don't have any like premier edge rushers. I mean, Nick Scourton's a rookie who's been all right for them. Don't have a lot of playmakers at the second level. I mean, Trayvon Morrig's pretty good, and they have one really elite level cornerback. This isn't a defense that scares you. This offense should be able to get back into some type of rhythm and scoring at a high clip.
Matt, last one for me, and it's about Maxwell Hairston, where, all right, so the window's open. Let me just first confirm that I have this right. It's 3 weeks they've got to decide, which would mean that somewhere between now and the Dolphins game on the back end, you'd have to put him on the 53. If they determine he's not ready, then he goes back on IR, and that's the end of the season. Like, how do you think this goes here? How do the Bills reintegrate Maxwell Hairston, a player that they had such high hopes for?
So I believe the 21-day window would take you to post-Dolphins game. So his first active game theoretically could be after the Dolphins. I think maybe is the Bucs there. I'm not sure. I got to look at the schedule. Either way, he seems to be trending in the right direction. I mean, if you think about a little over a month ago when he started appearing off to the side of practice, working and doing some things, he's wearing a pretty sizable knee brace, limited mobility. I mean, the recent work that we've seen out at practice, I mean, he is starting to cut. He's starting to backpedal. He's starting to, move laterally. That's something that, he's really ramping up even before now returning to practice. So, if you were to sell me a plan that he'd be active for this weekend, I'd listen to it. I mean, I don't think that that'd be out of the realm of possibility, but it's not something they got to rush either. He's going to need some practice reps. Now, the question is, all right, you have 3 healthy cornerbacks right now with Jamarcus Ingram, Trey White, and Christian Benford. If somebody goes down in the Kansas City game and you got to go to Jamarcus Ingram, what if 2 guys go down in that game? And maybe if you feel like he's ready, do you want to throw him out there and see if you can get some reps in and maybe get some experience against some guys on that team that have some speed and see how he reacts? I think any outcome here is possible, and I do believe, Sean, that you don't want to rush it. You want to keep expectations low. But at the same time, this is a first-round draft pick for a defense that has been searching for answers. And I got to be honest, he's got to be one of them, right? Because that was the off-season plan at cornerback, was go out, draft a guy in the first round. I know he got injured. I know he's been out for all this time. And maybe he's not 100% when he gets back, and that's got to be baked into the conversation, and we'll figure that out when you get there. But he's got to be at least somebody that you can put out there in a spot and ask to do the things that you drafted him to do.
And, Matt, I know we got a few weeks before the trade deadline hits, but the owners have gotten together and there's been some chatter. Maybe it's solely Jerry just getting the Cowboys in the news cycle, but, talking about being able to pry Max Crosby away from the struggling Raiders and doing it fairly reasonably. That feels like a pipe dream, although I don't know why it would be for the Buffalo Bills. What exactly do you think are the priorities here for Brandon Beane as we approach the trade deadline?
I'd probably argue defense a bunch of different times over the last 2 months, but the closer the trade deadline gets, the more I do truly believe that a wide receiver makes the most sense. And it's not even about the collection that they have right now of their five. Their five is fine. I think it's, do they need more talent there? Probably. It's not even about that, though. To me, it's about what do you do when one of these guys goes down? We saw Josh Palmer leave that game, and there was just no answers. When you need somebody to take some of the pressure off of Keon Coleman. Like, he's not going to be a guy, especially with what I believe, the Bills are in a spot with this where they felt he could be something in their offense. They're still working to make him into an X receiver when he may not be that. He may be a big slot and better suited to play on the interior where he can go up against very undersized cornerbacks and bully them to a degree with his speed and physicality. Well, they're not even doing that at this point. So if you can go out there and add a speed threat like a Rashid Shaheed or a premier receiver like a Chris Olave, I like those ideas. I like, going out and adding a player. That's one thing that Brandon did in 2020 that I think you can consider one of his most critically important moves was when he dealt for Stephon Diggs, a true number one wide receiver. Do the Bills need a number one? No, not necessarily, but I feel like it just makes it so much easier when you can take some of that pressure off. And, adding a downfield threat like a Shaheed as a plan B, I also don't think is the worst idea. I just think adding more talent around Josh Allen is the best plan, because even if you add another pass rusher, like a Max Crosby is a different tier. You're right. That would change the entire complexion of their defense, I think. The problem is the financials around adding Crosby still seem to be untenable. I mean, this year, I think I saw Mike Ginnetti put out a tweet today that it would be somewhere around $20 million that in this year's salary cap that you'd be adding in the trade for, who you're going to send back, how you're going to make that money work. It's complicated. If Brandon Beane could get something like that, I'd definitely sign up for Max Crosby. But I think a better path would be one of these receivers that you can get at a little bit more of a reasonable money piece to just bolster your offense as much as possible, because you're probably going to be in shootouts all the way down the stretch and then into the playoffs.
Matt Perino, along with Ryan Talbot on the Shout podcast. So tell our audience, if our audience hasn't checked it out already, when does it drop again? What can we check out at Syracuse.com this week, Matt?
Oh, yeah, we got a ton coming out this week. So I just finished up a pod with Carolina Panthers beat reporter. That'll come out tomorrow. We got a show tonight with Josh Reed and Carl Jones from Channel 4. We do a collab with them every week. We'll have our Staples show on Thursday, our preview episode on Friday with predictions, and then we'll have you covered. Like I said, I'm going to be writing about Hoyt and Ogunjobi's reinsertion into the Bills defense and what that means. You can find that over at Syracuse.com later this week.
Appreciate the time as always, bud. Let's do it again next week.
All right, take care, boys.
There's Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills, Syracuse.com, the Shout podcast as well.
Is anybody going to argue against that? Because I would listen to the counter argument. My gosh, this team can't tackle. They need a corner. They need everything else. They're a receiver short right now. If you can identify that receiver, I just think that would unlock everything else, free everything else a little bit.
I think you should be able to score 30 points a game even if you didn't have Josh Palmer. You didn't have Josh Palmer last year, right? Same guys you had last year. Is it a lot of the same guys you had last year, if not the same guy? I mean, what's the difference? Amari Cooper? That the only real difference from last year? Josh Palmer is an upgrade from Amari Cooper. If Palmer can't go, well, you still can score 30 points a game. I wouldn't be upset at the idea of them getting some speed and getting a wide receiver that can get that valuable separation that everybody's been talking about for the last 2 weeks.
Shaheed's good. Shaheed's good too.
Not bad. Not bad. Really appreciate Matt Perino giving us his time, giving us his thoughts as the Bills get ready to travel to Carolina and take on the Panthers. That's a Sunday 1 o'clock kickoff. You'll be able to hear the action on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame coverage gets underway at 9 o'clock. We check in with Rochester Americans head coach Mike Leone coming up here at 4:25. Next in the sports bar, our Week 8 Survive and Advance Survivor football pick. We will end the suspension. We will give you a Week 8 winner, and we will advance to Week 9 in your Survivor pool. Also, fantasy football talk with Michael Leflorio coming up before 5 o'clock as well. Stay in the sports bar.
HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills are looking for a win here in the month of October, something they haven't gotten, of course, coming off the bye. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky talking about how this Bills offense can attack the Carolina defense.
I'd like to see them get Keon going laterally a little bit more, candidly. Shakir's got to touch it a little bit earlier on in their pass game. Obviously, Kincaid coming back is healthy, but I would be floored if they did not come out and give James Cook 8 to 10 touches in that first quarter.
Orlovsky today on One Bills Live. We'll talk with Michael F. Florio. Some fantasy coming up later this hour. Busy week for the Amerks starting tomorrow night. You got the 3 games in 4 days. Syracuse is the opponent, the Blue Cross. Amerks head coach Mike Leone will join us at the bottom of this hour. NBA season begins tonight. Houston and Oklahoma City. Golden State facing the Lakers. Gene Battaglia with the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amerks. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
I don't like that, Gene. I don't like that. I mean, we peek behind the curtain here. You have the big screen off to our side here, and it's always playing, whatever was on ESPN, and they're recapping last night where the Lions dismantled the Bucs 24-9, but they're showing the stat line of Jack Campbell. I mean, former sports bar draft crush Jack Campbell.
I mean, say what you want about our draft crushes. We picked winners that didn't come to Buffalo. Now, mind you, Jack Campbell, the Bills didn't have the opportunity. They would have to move up. But every time I see that safety in Philadelphia make a play, Cooper DeJean, every time I see Ladd McConkey make a play.
My guy last year that landed in Miami, I don't know what he's doing, but I don't even.
You go to Miami.
I don't even remember his name. That's what happens. You go to Miami, we forget you. You're dead to us. I don't even know who he is, what he's doing, but I'm sure he's a bust. But yeah, I mean, I loved me some Ladd McConkey. No, not happening. But that Jack Campbell stat line last night with a couple of tackles for a loss and a sack, and he's all over the field. I'm like, yeah, he's a pretty good player.
If you miss Matt Perino, you can go download the Odyssey app. We have it up on demand too. I think one of the takeaways was you're either all in or you're all out. Meaning, hey, we saw a corner, Dorian Strong being sprinkled in before Strong suffered that neck injury. Could we see that at safety? Matt's like, no. If Sean McDermott is going to make the move, they're going to make the move either to Hancock and or Poyer. But Perino also pointing out this is a team that leans on the side of the veteran. Always. So if you're hoping that, hey, let's put Hancock in there, not so fast.
And think about that. I mean, like to make a rash judgment like that basically signals the end of the Taylor Rapp tenure. I think a lot of fans would be like, good, that should mean, they're going to get what they need to get out of his contract. They're going to get value out of everybody that they've got signed. And a guy like Jordan Hancock isn't going anywhere.
Couldn't we come up with the phantom hamstring injury? He wasn't good. We're going to give somebody else, and that way we're going to save face.
Yeah, for as much as I like to think about conspiracy theories in the NFL and believe that load management is actually a thing, and they use some of these injuries to save guys and to give guys rest that they need through the course of a season. That's one that I don't think they're going to do. I don't think they're going to be like, hey, you have. By the way, Taylor, your knee is really bothering you, and you're just going to have to take a couple of weeks to work that out. These guys want to be on the field. I don't expect there to be any change. In fact, look around the league. Look at how bad it has to be before you consider making any sort of change. Like we're hearing that Tyrod Taylor is going to start for the Jets Week 8 against the Bengals. What took you so long? What did you see in Justin Fields that made you believe that it was going to look any different than it's looked since Week 3, Week 4?
You paid him $30 million up front. I guess that was, we're going to try to make this work at all costs.
That's right. That's right. So that conversation with Matt Perino, you can get it now. It's available wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Sports Bar, and you'll find all of our guest appearances there. Gino, it's time. And I know it's your favorite time of week. It's become my favorite time of week as well, as we make one pick for Survivor Football. Now, just a little history, a little background. This is Gene's passion. Gene loves Survivor Football. I'd say more than fantasy football, more than sports betting. This is your thing because you won it one year. One year you won a football pool, a Survivor pool, and it paid you handsomely.
It's the one thing in this world. It used to be college football. Hey, one loss, you're not going to qualify for the championship. No, it's Survivor Football. It's gotten to the point, though, a lot of these pools have buybacks.
Don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like it.
I mean, I guess it builds up the value of your pool and the money that you rake in, but the buyback is kind of, I'm not for it.
It goes with one of our rules, hand in hand, where we talk about hedgers being losers. You have one pool, make one pick. Well, you're going to do a buy. That doesn't make any sense, buying your way back into stop. We've established rules, criteria for making a pick on a weekly basis. And here we are. These rules have guided us through 7 weeks. They will guide us through 8 weeks. We don't like road teams. We do not take road teams when we can avoid it. No divisional games. Familiar opponents. Weird things happen in divisional games. Vegas line is always our guide. The favorite that you pick has to be giving more than 5 points. No savers in Survivor Football. Savers are losers. You can't be like, Indianapolis is really good. I'm going to save Indianapolis. No.
What do you think Wilson, the manager of Seattle, is? We have runners on base. I'm going to save our closer for later. Oh, no.
How'd that work out for you? Hedgers are losers. We already mentioned it. One pool, one pick. Bad defenses are bad plays. And through 7 weeks, we have a pretty good sense of who the bad defenses in the NFL are. We want to try and avoid those teams. And in fact, we've taken a couple of teams that have bad defenses, and we've been able to survive through 7 weeks. Look out for the team that is playing at home for the second consecutive week. Now, there's no shame in picking against the bad team week after week. We've done that through the course of this season. And no kill shot. Don't override logic. Don't take an outlier thinking that the majority in your pool is going to get knocked out. You don't win your pool in week 1. We're not going to win the pool in week 7. We're going to continue to run our race, Gino. Much like our friend Joey Kipchoge, running a strong pace, a marathon pace. We don't look at the rest of the pool. We only focus on what we need to do. Now, there are the 7 teams we cannot choose. Denver, our week 1 pick, they beat Tennessee. We took Baltimore in week 2. Their only win. That was against the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken.
Tampa Bay had the biggest sweat against the Jets.
That was close.
That was way too close.
Aaron Glenn celebrating in his capri pants on the side, dancing on the sideline, only to see his team choke away a lead. Tampa helped us advance past week 3. We went with the Bills against the Saints. It wasn't pretty, but we got the win. We don't want to overthink things. This is where it got interesting. Week 5, where Gino said the pick is Arizona.
Yeah, the kid fumbles it in the end zone. It would have given him a 28-3 lead.
I said, Gino, I don't know about that pick. Tennessee's going to win one, and I don't trust Arizona. At the time, Cincinnati was circling the drain. They still had Browning at quarterback. Defense is a mess. I like the Lions in week 5. Well, the rest is history. Gino got bounced. Therefore, I'm giving the picks now. Gino is reduced to sidekick role. You're a reactor now. I'm driving this bus.
Again, I use the analogy that's a little off-putting, but, I'm sitting in the corner chained up here. All right, Danger has the whip saying, I'm making the pick.
You're the gimp. Green Bay was the pick. We picked on Cincinnati consecutive weeks. Detroit in week 5, Green Bay in week 6. Green Bay advances to week 7, and we stayed in the NFC North last week. I know you didn't like the pick, Gino. The Bears handled business at home against the Saints. We followed the rules. We followed the criteria for making a smart Survivor pick. So we know the teams we can't choose. We're going to first start off by crossing off divisional games. Giants are taking on the Eagles in Philly. We want no part of that. I think the Eagles are going to absolutely destroy New York, by the way. And the Titans are facing the Colts. That's the biggest spread of the week. Last time I checked, it was Indy by 14.5.
Okay, you're not crossing this off. You got to push that to the side, right?
I'll push it to the side.
Okay.
We're going to cross off road favorites. Packers are 3.5-point favorites in Pittsburgh Sunday night, but we took Green Bay week 6. We're not taking Pittsburgh in this spot. We'll cross off small favorites. The Chargers are favored by 2.5 against the Vikings. What a disgusting display those two teams are going to put on Thursday night. Short week. We don't know who's starting at quarterback for the Vikings. I don't know who's blocking or running the football for the Chargers. An absolute mess. Houston are giving the Niners 1.5 off of their loss last night late in Seattle, which leaves us with many choices. Lots of options.
Wow,
here.
this is... But one of these will blow up, right?
I feel confident.
Don't pick the one that blows up. All right, review them.
Cincinnati is a 6.5-point favorite against the Jets. And again, there's no shame in picking on a bad team. The Jets are a bad team. Bengals are home. Bengals also have a bad defense. Can we put that one aside? Let's just put that aside for a second.
And it's Tyrod. It's not Fields.
That's right.
So, yeah, all right.
Falcons are 7.5-point favorites. They're hosting the Dolphins. Atlanta has a good defense. Miami is circling the drain. I mean, do we really expect a bounce back from Atlanta after losing to the Niners on Sunday night against the Dolphins? I'd say, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. Something about Atlanta still makes me a little bit nervous.
Have you seen the Dolphins? Are they really going to rise up for their coach?
I really don't know who's doing what for the Dolphins anymore.
Their coach saying, well, Tua does as long as he doesn't throw 10 interceptions. Wow, that's a way to build the guy's confidence up.
New England home against the Browns, getting 7.5 at last check. The Browns, for me, are tricky. I just saw a lot of I saw them spoil a lot of survivor pools earlier this year when they beat Green Bay, and I don't know that I want any part of that game.
Are you crossing it off?
I'm going to cross that one off.
I agree.
Kansas City is hosting the hologram of the Washington Commanders as 9.5-point favorites at Arrowhead. That's the Monday night game.
All right, so what do we know about Daniels? He's out, right? Are they just playing this game?
I don't think Daniels is going to play. Daniels, if we've learned anything about Daniels, he's good, but he's also fragile. He's brittle. He's made of glass. This is another injury. He's missing more time. He's not finishing games. Marcus Mariota is not it. He's not the guy that's going to command, pun intended, an offense. And then there's that massive spread to consider in the Colts and Titans divisional matchup.
BetQL has moved that line, by the way. It's now Chiefs favored by 10.
So it's moving more in the direction of the Chiefs.
So public money's coming in on the Chiefs.
Right. Tough. Do we break a rule? And do we go with the Colts over the Titans in a divisional matchup? Do we look at the Falcons against the terrible Dolphins? I'm crossing off Cincy. I don't like the defense. It's a bad defense. It's the Jets. I get it, but it's a bad defense. Not going to do it. And New England against the Browns, we already crossed that one off.
Colts, second time around. They beat the Titans earlier this year. Now they get him home.
Colts at home.
At home.
Hosting the Titans. Still a divisional game. Now, the game that checks all the boxes, Gino, I'm going to plug my nose a little bit here. I'm going to wait until Monday. You hear me. This is what I'm doing. Listen, don't take this personally. The Chiefs are my Week 8 Survive and Advance pick for your Survivor football pool. We're going to tomahawk chop to Week 9. I don't feel good about it. I really don't. But this is where we're at. And they right now look like the best team in the NFL.
I imagine Binkley listening right now saying, I got them. Yes. And he's absolutely right.
The last thing I want to do,
right.
The last thing I want to do is give Binkley ammunition to come back into the sports bar and talk about how we always disrespect the Chiefs. Oh, God, it's insufferable. Nobody is disrespecting the team that has completely owned the AFC for the better part of the last decade. Knock it off.
Did you make this pick in part because pollster Peter put out Falcons, Bengals, Patriots, Colts, and
Blatant omission.
Blatant omission.
Blatant omission by. I was kind of surprised. Pete didn't even consider the Chiefs, and I think that's the second largest point spread behind the Colts and Titans matchup.
It is. If it's Mariota,
it's not going to happen for Washington in Arrowhead against this Kansas City team right now. A Kansas City team that I'm sure is licking their chops. Get through Monday, short week, travel to Buffalo. That's where we start to disrespect the Chiefs. But this week, I'll give them the respect that they've earned the last couple of weeks. They've looked good. They've looked like the best team in the NFL. And on Monday night in Kansas City, Marcus Mariota is going to get waxed. Chiefs are your pick. I don't like it. I will plug my nose through Sunday and Monday night, but we will be back here next week, same time, to give you a Week 9 winner. Book it now. You can thank me on Tuesday. So I guess I will see you next Tuesday. I'm 12. I don't know what you want from me. Have I not made myself clear all the years we've worked together? I'm sorry. Coming up next, 6-7 jokes. Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans.
UPL is down.
This is something.
Yeah.
This is something.
All right.
So we got a lot to talk about, a lot to recap, and a lot to look forward to with the Amherst. A split in their three-way series with Utica and Syracuse last weekend, and a three-game set here coming up through this week as well. We'll get you everything you need to know about the Rochester Americans, including the return of UPL to the red, white, and blue with Mike Leone, Amherst head coach, next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
Well, one last day of rest for the Buffalo Bills. Are back at practice tomorrow. Carolina, the next opponent. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky on that Panther defense.
Buffalo is going to see more abnormal defensive line movement than they have all season long. Carolina does a lot of unique defensive line movements. They'll almost do like run games. And so that creates just a lot of chaos. And so from an offensive perspective, it's like, what scheme do you feel can handle that initially?
Dan Orlovsky today on One Bills Live. Michael F. Florio will talk some fantasy football coming up later this hour here in the Sports Bar. Busy week coming up here for the Amerks beginning tomorrow night. 3 games in 4 days. Syracuse, the opponent, at home tomorrow night. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen down on conditioning in Rochester. Amerks head coach Mike Leone joining us next year. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Another weekend split for the Rochester Americans, taking Utica down Friday night and then dropping one to Syracuse in Syracuse 3-0 on Saturday night. But revenge on the mind tomorrow night at Blue Cross Arena with the Crunch coming to town. We welcome in Amerks head coach Mike Leone. Before we talk about this week's action, we got big news today, and we want to get your thoughts on last week's action. But UPL, what's going on, Coach?
Yeah, he's coming down on a conditioning stint, so he's going to start tomorrow night. So he practiced with us today. He looked good. He said he felt good, so we're excited to see him play.
Is it a game-by-game sort of thing with the conditioning? Like if he looks good and says, I'm ready, and you agree, he could go back up?
I think it's a little bit just given the history of the player. I think they want to be – I think it's really important to just see how he's feeling. I think we'll see how Wednesday goes and make a decision after that if he feels like he's ready to go or could possibly, when you haven't played and – I think he's played once so far and through 2 periods. So as a goalie, I think a lot of it is getting into game speed, and our level is a lot different than the NHL. So, to make sure he feels good in his game and where he's at and if he's comfortable. And we'll see after Wednesday night and then kind of make a decision after that. It's
real early in the season, Mike, but how are you managing this wealth of goaltending within the organization? I mean, you've got UPL here on the conditioning assignment. You still have Devin here. You've got Gorgiev. You've got Lyon, playing up with the Sabres. I mean, this has to have been one of the bigger challenges that you've had since joining the Amerks in terms of managing personalities here and getting the right guys and the right pieces, given everything that's been thrown at you.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, like you said, is just managing. I think. You probably have to over-communicate at this situation. All the goalies are in a different situation. So it's really important. I've always had the mentality if someone comes into our room, they're part of our team, and you have to treat it as so, and everybody's equal, and making sure that everyone has a really good attitude. You only can control what you can control, and then we have to make decisions on going forward, looking at every goalie situation. But I think it's just constantly, I probably talk to the goalies more than I ever have in my entire coaching career of just, communicating with them, because I think it's really important. They know where they're at, what the plan is going forward. I usually tell goalies weeks in advance, not weeks, but who's starting, and I think it's worked really well here. Since I've been here, and Seamus Kodak's a big part of that, and how we go about planning. So I think it's more probably day to day than it is week to week. So we'll see where Wednesday goes, and then make a decision on Friday and Saturday after that.
Yeah, the Amerks' second home game of the season coming up tomorrow night, Syracuse. And before we look ahead to that game and the week ahead, Coach, the week that's behind us. And now that we've gotten to know each other here over the last course of the year, like fans, media, we measure things basically on wins and losses, and you do too, certainly. But you also look at, hey, how did we actually play in this game? Maybe we had everything going, and I like the way we played. It just didn't go our way. How did your team play last week, where we see one win and one loss?
There's some good and bad. I just think given right now, we gotta. We have a really young group. There's some huge pieces. So there at times, I like our game, and at times we go through probably stretches where we just play immature. I call it little kid hockey, where we're playing too much one-on-one. We're giving up way too much. And just defining the consistency, probably have to coach our group more probably detailed than we've ever been, of just giving them a game plan on what we're trying to execute and what is expected from them. I actually didn't like us in the Utica game. I know the score was the score, but we didn't play great. I actually liked the second half of the game in Syracuse. New their line. I mean, they're deep. They have a lot of veterans, and we knew it was going to be a really tough test. But they kind of, in the first period, we were a little overwhelmed, and I think as the game went on, we settled in, and I liked us the second half of the game. It's just probably learning with our group, just how young we are. The margin for error is really small, and the mistakes that we're giving up in the game, which is going to happen, but you can't let it happen consistently over and over. I believe the first time, is a mistake. The second time is a decision that you're making to not know what you're doing. And I think we have to get a lot better as a team. I'm not saying it's all been bad, but there's a lot of growth that needs to happen with our group right now.
So you got Syracuse, an opponent you're familiar with, having just seen them on Saturday, come into town tomorrow night at Blue Cross Arena. Then Friday night, I know a lot of fans are licking their chops because it's the first chance we'll have to see the team that eliminated Rochester last year from the postseason. That's Laval. What do we know about this year's Laval Rocket?
I actually think they're better than they were last year. I think they have two really good goalies. They have a lot of vets now that they're missing. We probably won't see right now, similar to our group, of what their roster could look like going forward. But they're a really good team. They defend extremely well. They're hard to play against. They have, similar to us, a lot of young skill, but they have really good veterans. Much of the same, to be honest. Their group is they have quite a few guys called up and guys banged up, but their group that they will have going forward will be a really good team.
So last night we had a Sabre game. They lose. Montreal's tough too, but you had Zach Metza making his NHL debut. So your thoughts, and you got to take pride in this, right? That's what it's all about, right? You're promoting guys, and you see them, chasing their dreams. So two-part question: what did you think of Metza last night? And well, assuming he stays up there, Coach, do you go with a different captain? How do you, or who's kind of assuming that responsibility here coming up this week?
It's a good question. I mean, if you look at our lineup right now, like Dunner's up, Metza's up, Carson Meyer's out. So when I'm talking about being a really young group, we have Jake Lecision's our only guy that is technically considered a veteran. So it's really not getting too high or too low. We're 2 games into the season and we're not playing bad, but it's just making sure that the guys in the room that have been here that just, hey, calm down when things go awry during games or things like that. But Mets, I'm not sure. I think a lot depends on the how healthy those guys are up there. I think a few guys are close to coming back. So I foresee us getting Mets. I don't know when. But I thought he played a good game, a really cool story. I mean, he wasn't, on an NHL contract last year. If someone would have told someone that played with Mets when he was 18 that he'd be in the NHL, there's a lot of people that probably doubted him. But, he's it's a good story on work ethic and self-belief and really persevering. And he's a great example of that. Some guys probably would have went to Europe. Some guys would have probably not pushed as hard as he did. And I think it's a great story about determination and self-belief. Because if you don't have those things, there's no chance that this happens. And I'm really happy for him.
Well, I have a follow-up question. Were you dual screening it last night? Because you had to be watching the Lions at the same time as you were watching Mets play with the Sabres last night. I was struggling with one screen. I don't know how you were doing it, Coach.
Yeah, I was going back and forth. I was luckily at times they were, the game, the Lions game started early, so that helped out big time. The time. 7:30. So I got to watch early in the game, and then switch over to the Sabres, and I would switch back and then following on my phone. But I would have the game on my computer and then watching the Lions on the TV.
So Friday night, you got the promotion too, Sweets in the Suites. This is because Halloween is the following Friday, and kids can trick or treat in at the suite level, which is kind of fun. If we were going to drop off candy for you, what would be your guilty pleasure, Mike?
Oh man, probably Reese's peanut butter cups for sure.
The peanut butter cup guy. It's a popular candy.
Yeah.
Doesn't crack my top five.
That would. I would. That would be my go-to for sure.
Now, are you one of these guys that has to put it in the freezer for a little bit before you go for it, or do you just, it doesn't matter if there's one there?
Yeah, I've done that in the past. My wife is extremely into Halloween, like our whole house, the whole setup, like she dresses the kids up like it's her favorite holiday. So
awesome.
At our house back home, like the kids, the kids in the neighborhood get hooked up. My wife gets the king size.
She does a full size.
Yeah. She's all about that. But I would say probably, Reese's for sure.
Well, it's a busy stretch here for you guys coming up. We appreciate the time too, Mike. Home Wednesday, Syracuse. Home Friday, the Val Rocket, and then you're in Cleveland coming up Saturday at 7:00. We'll have all the action. Either Don or Andrew will be on the call. Mike, thanks for the time today. Really appreciate it.
Okay, you guys have a good one.
Take care. There's
Bye.
head coach Mike Leone, Rochester Americans, Reese's guy. Yeah, I get it. I mean, a lot of Reese's guys. But I would expect nothing less from a guy as classy as Mike Leone that they would be a full-size candy bar home. Mm-hmm. They're handing out the full size. That's a classy move. Couldn't be my house. Could not be my house.
The Halloween is the Super Bowl for you. I don't remember this growing up. But a lot of people in my neighborhood, this is it. They treat it just like how people would treat the holidays, dressing up their home and everything.
Yeah, I get that. I see that. And I'm fine with that. You know what? It's all good. And now I'm like, this is a bittersweet Halloween for me, Gino. No trick-or-treating in the house anymore. Girls have outgrown the trick-or-treating. No trick-or-treating means no candy haul, no candy tax.
Well, let's be honest. Like, you were kind of let down gradually. You haven't been walking the girls around or girl around. She's been doing her own thing with her friends. So that's step one, where you were like the dad and you'd be, kind of like you'd have a little drink in your pocket walking around the neighborhood.
Nothing better, man. You're walking around, you see all your neighbors, you see people with their bonfires in the driveway, which, I'll always stop and say hey and chat up whoever we're stopping at. Let the girls go ahead and I'll catch up with you. And yeah, that's fun. That's the holiday for me. And now it's like, well, I guess I'll just hand out treats. I'll be the guy that's handing out treats. Fine. Big weekend for the Amerks and UPL back in net tomorrow night. So there's a reason to go check out the Amerks tomorrow night if you want to see UPL on his conditioning assignment here with Syracuse, the opponent, as they look to avenge the 3-0 loss from Saturday night.
I think it's one of those where he plays the one game. Is UPL going to say he needs more work? No, he's going to say, I'm good. He doesn't want to be in Rochester.
Correct.
So, honestly, I'd be kind of surprised if it were more. I would give him this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't wait if you want to see UPL in net for. I wouldn't wait till Friday. I would go tomorrow night if you want to see UPL donning an Hammock sweater.
I'm saying the opposite. UPL will be like, I want to go up. I'm good. But if you're the Sabres, you'd be like, wait a second. You didn't have a preseason. You're playing here, and then we're going to give you Saturday, too, in Cleveland or something like that. Of course he's going to. He don't want to be here in the first place. Trust me.
No matter who's in between the pipes, you'll be able to hear all of your Rochester Americans hockey action here on the Fan Rochester all season long, every game here on the Fan, your proud home of Amherst hockey.
Time for who's heating up and who's cooling off in fantasy football.
Yes.
It's presented by Heat and Cool. It's cool with a K. Why a K? Because it's cool. Hey, Jamar Chase owners. Yay. You finally did it. It feels like a long time ago. You got to go back to last Thursday.
A little footnote there for A.J. Brown, too, if we may. He had a nice game against the Vikings, finally.
Yeah, and who's cool? Just get rid of everybody on the Jets. If you like Breece Hall should be wanting to be dealt at this point.
Oh, it's gross.
Terrible.
Just terrible. Appreciate that. We'll talk more fantasy football next with Michael F. Florio, NFL Network on the Fan. Week 8 in the NFL set to get underway Thursday. Chargers and Vikings to kick off Week 8. So today, if you're a fantasy football player, you know what Tuesdays mean. You go to the waiver wire, you make your claims, and you get ready to build a winning roster for the weekend. Michael F. Florio from NFL Network joins us every week at this time to help us navigate the fantasy football waters that get a little bit murky, Michael, when you have, let me see here, 6 teams on bye in Week 8. How are you, Mike? You hanging in there?
I'm hanging in there, and yeah, I don't know why the schedule makers like to do this, but I am pretty sure this is the only week with 6 teams on bye this year. So we just got to navigate this one.
Yeah, of all those, I mean, and this is not just any teams. Like Detroit, sorry, you're gone. The Rams, no, you're gone. Seattle, no, sorry, no Jackson Smith and Jigba. We're going to need to be filling in kind of holes at every position here. So your advice is really kind of welcome today. At quarterback, as a flyer, if you need one, are you considering Joe Flacco? Was that a 1-week thing, or could we get away with this against the Jets this week?
I'm not saying it's a 1-week thing. I do think we'll look back at the end of the year, and that'll be the best game of the season for Joe Flacco. But he's throwing a Jamar. Like, the thing I loved about it was he wasn't even like, all right, we're going to go through progressions and stuff. He was just like, no, I'm going to lock in and throw it wherever Jamar Chase is supposed to be and trust that he will be there. And it works because Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver walking the planet. Then he's got T. Higgins and some other good weapons there. I think he'll be serviceable, but I'm not expecting him to do what he did last week again. In fact, there's other streaming options at quarterback that I think I would be using over Joe Flacco this week.
Talk about a little bit about
those streaming options. I'm sorry, would it be Dart? Who else would be those streaming options at quarterback?
Oh, Dart, I mean, he's out there in some leagues. He is a must pick up. I think he is a top 10 fantasy quarterback the rest of the way. I mean, look what he's done against the Eagles and the Broncos. The Broncos are what I think the best defense in football. And he just went out and was the QB2, the best quarterback performance against them all year. What he's doing with his legs is so valuable in fantasy that, yeah, Dart is number one. I think Tyrod Taylor, it looks like he is going to be named the starter for the Jets. If he is very much so in play this week against the Bengals. And then CJ Stroud, I know last night was rough, but he's at his best when he's not under pressure, and no team has generated pressure at a lower rate since the Nick Bosa injury than the 49ers. And then Joe Flacco kind of comes in this range, but like Aaron Rodgers, I know it's not the best matchup, but Aaron Rodgers is going to be motivated to go out and put up big numbers against his old team. And then Michael Penix Jr. being another option there because of the matchup against the Dolphins. But for me, Flacco probably comes in between the names I mentioned, and him and Rodgers are right about close. I would use him over Penix, though.
Do you have any takeaways from last night and what we saw out of Tampa Bay? I kind of had to pour one out seeing Mike Evans struggle to get off the field after he breaks his clavicle, and I'm kind of curious as to what Tampa's offense looks like after the beatdown that they suffered last night to Detroit. What are your thoughts on the Tampa weapons here moving forward, Mike?
Yeah, I still feel good about them. It was a regression game that we've seen these happen in the NFL. The Bills had one in their last game out there where some of their guys are like Baker was riding so hot that there's going to be one of those games that just kind of bring his number back to the pack a little bit and back to what they normally are. I think last night was more, in my opinion, more credit to the Detroit Lions defensive line. Like, they made life so difficult on Baker Mayfield. They were getting after him extremely quickly as well. I still look, it's awful about Mike Evans, and it's even worse that his streak is probably going to come to an end now because of injuries. But, yeah, so I think Emeka Egbuka is still a must-start option each week. I think you play whichever one of their starting running backs is there. It looks like it might be Rachaad White again this week, but when it's Bucky Irving, he's an obvious must-play. Tez Johnson is someone I think that I'm interested in off of waivers because 2 weeks ago he was just kind of used sparingly, but last night he was running all the routes out there with the starters. He had 9 targets. He clearly has trust from Baker Mayfield. And then Chris Godwin, we're still waiting and seeing what he could be, but I'm not panicking we've seen the Lions have bad games like this. We've seen the Bills. The Chiefs started off slowly. Like it's when it's just 1 week, especially when it's against another team that, I thought we'd get a shootout last night, but that Detroit Lions defense came to play. Like it hurts, but it's just 1 week. Now, if this happens a couple more weeks in a row, then maybe we could talk.
So a short week here for the Chargers. Chargers get blown out by the Colts. Wait a second. Oronde Gadsden had 164 yards against the Colts, and I would imagine he's available in many leagues. So your thoughts on what Gadsden could be moving forward in a Charger offense that really hasn't looked all that great this season?
Yeah, I think he needs to be picked up. Like what he did this past week, he had the most yards by a rookie tight end since 1985. And he tied Trey McBride for the most fantasy points scored by a tight end in any game this season. Like, that can't be ignored. Plus, 7 or more targets in 3 of the 5 games he's played this year, especially the last 2 weeks, been much more involved. I'm not ready to say, like, he's a must-every-week start, but I think this week with 6 teams on bye, he's very much so in play, and he is someone that I myself am putting in a number of claims in this week. And the Chargers, right now with Hampton out, the run game is working, but they also they need to pass it more than we had thought. So this past week, I know they were trailing the whole game. You don't expect that every week, but he had a ton of volume. Keenan had a ton of volume. Ladd McConkey had a ton of volume. There's going to be games like this, and I think the Chargers pass catchers are trending up, and that includes Gadsden.
Let's talk a little bit about streaming defenses for this week, Mike, because it feels like it's getting easier and easier with each passing week to target bad offenses to go up against, whether you're looking at Miami. I would say certainly Cleveland is an offense that you would want to target if you're looking to stream defenses. Who do you like this week?
Yeah, I like the Colts, number one, because they have shown us that they could take advantage of bad matchups or very favorable matchups, bad offenses, like you said. And no one right now is worse than the Titans. They have fumble issues. They have turnover issues. They have sack issues. They can't protect the quarterback. They can't put points on the board. The Falcons, we've seen, like, Bills fans saw firsthand how good that defense could be and how quickly they could generate pressure. Now they're going to get the Dolphins this week. Like you said, that's very much so 1-2 attack. The Patriots get the Browns. The Bucks get the Saints, who haven't been as favorable of a matchup as I thought they would be coming in, but they did have a lot of turnovers last week. And then lastly, I think the Chiefs are in play because they look like a very dangerous defense again, but that's only if it's Marcus Mariota, not Jaden Daniels.
We're talking to Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, also part of the Sick podcast with Stevie Johnson, talking Buffalo Bills. Michael F. Florio, proud member of Bills Mafia. So it's a fantasy question. It's also a real football question. We got Carolina and Buffalo, and you've got a Carolina offense that's going to be led by Andy Dalton. Are we worried about that, or are we just, it doesn't matter because the Panther run game should have success? What are your thoughts on Carolina, both from a fantasy standpoint and a real standpoint, against Buffalo this week?
Yeah, I think from a fantasy standpoint, Andy Dalton is more someone for super flex leagues, 2 quarterback leagues, but in a couple of those formats, leagues of that format, I am putting in a bid on him. I don't expect huge numbers, but he has shown us in the past that, and we've seen it with a lot of veteran quarterbacks, Joe Flacco being the latest example, where they could come in and just kind of operate the offense, sometimes even more efficiently than the young kids can, because the kids are the upside plays, the veterans are the safe, boring plays. And we've seen that out of Dalton. We've also seen he can elevate his wide receiver one. Like Adam Thielen was a wide receiver one in each of the last 2 seasons with stretches with Andy Dalton. So I think that means good things for McMillan. I think Jalen Coker is a sleeper as well, just as the top slot guy. Xavier Legette saw a lot of volume last week, but I'm not willing to trust him just yet unless you're really desperate. But, yeah, the run game is what I think Bills fans should be worried about, especially Rico Dowdle, because Chuba, they split time and opportunities last week, but Chuba's like that grinded out kind of back, like gets you like, he'll get steady gains, but you don't have to worry about the big play there. Kind of like the David Montgomery, and they're trying to be the Lions, so the David Montgomery there, whereas Rico Dowdle is the explosive play like a Jahmyr Gibbs, although they're not Gibbs and Montgomery, but that's just how they're used. But Dowdle has shown to be highly explosive in the last 3 games, and that is something the Bills have allowed more explosive runs than any team in the NFL right now, or at least at the highest rate per carry. So it is a big concern. It's kind of like the Falcons, but not as tough, right? Like the Panthers defense, I don't think gets enough credit for how well they're playing, especially in the secondary. But I don't think they're quite as tough as the Falcons defense. Their run game is great. It's not Bijan Robinson. And then the quarterback, they leave some to be desired there. So it's a similar matchup. This is a game the Bills should win, in my opinion, by a couple of scores, but we'll see. I thought they would have won the last two as well. So that's why we play the games, right?
Michael, quickly, just because you mentioned Gibbs and Montgomery, this is a two-headed tandem in Detroit that we've seen now for the better part of 2 seasons, and we feel comfortable starting. We feel a little bit more comfortable starting Gibbs over Montgomery, but you could certainly make a case for Montgomery on a week-to-week basis. Do we have a similar situation in Seattle now with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, or is there one there that you think is a clear-cut must-start every week?
No, it's the opposite with the Lions, because with the Lions, both of those guys eat enough that, you're like, yeah, it's cool to have both of them out there. They both are productive enough. Gibbs is explosive enough. With the Seahawks, Charbonnet has no explosiveness whatsoever. He's kind of a plotter, but he's getting all the goal line work, which is why he has outscored Kenneth Walker in 5 of the 6 games that they have been active together. But Kenneth Walker is explosive. He's not getting any touchdowns. To me, the Lions are in a situation where you want to start them both. The Seahawks, as of now, are a situation where I want to sit them both if possible.
Michael F. Florio, as we're getting ready to set our lineups here and put in our waiver claims, tell everybody about where they can get your content as well as the Sick podcast here, Michael.
Yeah, I'll be talking more waivers on the Insiders a little bit later this afternoon, and then on Fantasy Live and the Insiders the rest of the week on NFL Network, NFL Fantasy Football Podcast on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. Big podcast with me and Stevie Johnson, where we're just getting more guests each week. We're having a lot of fun, and we're going to be breaking down this Panthers game later this week. And then rotorballer.com, and I have a podcast over there as well called Florio's Football Show. So say it every week, but there's a lot of different options where you could hear me talk about either the Bills or fantasy football.
Make us a better fantasy football player each and every week. Michael, appreciate you giving us this time.
Of course, and go Bills.
You got it. There he is, Michael F. Florio. NFL Network and the Sick Podcast with Stevie Styles. Love our time with Michael F. Florio, and let's go get a win this weekend. What do you say?
He's right about one thing, though. Like, if you're thinking, oh, good, it's Andy Dalton. He could rise up for one game. That's all it is. Like, who thought Joe Flacco all of a sudden would resurrect that guy again?
I'm not giving Andy Dalton that credit. No. I will disrespect Andy Dalton.
You will disrespect him.
I will absolutely.
Yeah.
I will not respect Andy Dalton at this point in his career. He's not good. He's not good. If Andy Dalton makes the Bills look embarrassing, I mean, there's no hope. What are we talking about? No, absolutely not.
If the Bills lose to the Panthers, the storyline in the sports bar Monday will be like, does this Bills team even make the playoffs? I'm not kidding.
No, you're right.
Because they will lose then to Kansas City. They will be at 500.
And then we could look back to
the whiteout game.
We could look back to the whiteout game, but we could look back to years past where we're like, okay, they're done, and then they get hot, and then they get on a run, and then they make the postseason. I mean, I feel like we get on this ride every year knowing what it's going to be, but we just can't get enough.
No, we forget what the ride is like. We know it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
It's a trip to Disney.
Yeah, it's like
a trip to Disney.
I could see them losing to Atlanta. That won't be a big deal. Wait, they lost to Atlanta? Like, why do we? What is wrong with us?
I haven't been to Disney in a couple of years, so I forget what some of these rides are like. But yeah, it's like, you forget and you want to get back on the ride and you want to do it again. Oh, let's go. We'll wait a year and then we'll do it again.
Danger, like. Talking about not going to Disney anymore, talking about not trick-or-treating anymore.
Fire up Cats in the Cradle. I'm done, man. This is it.
You need some therapy.
I used to have potential. What happened? Happy Hour is next in the sports bar. We'll get to all of today's headlines. The Bills getting set to get back on the practice field in advance of the game against Carolina coming up on Sunday. They practice again tomorrow afternoon. We'll get to a round of shots. And for last call today, we'll be joined by RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas. All on the way before 6 on The Fan.
AM 950, The Fan, Rochester. WROC AM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
One last day of rest for Bills players. They're back at work tomorrow getting ready for Carolina. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky today on One Bills Live talking about how this Bills offense can attack the Panthers.
I'd like to see them get Keon going laterally a little bit more, candidly. Shakir's got to touch it a little bit earlier on in their pass game. Obviously, Kincaid coming back is healthy, but I would be floored if they did not come out and give James Cook 8 to 10 touches in that first quarter.
Sunday's kickoff is at 1 o'clock in Carolina. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, he's down with the Amherst, as Mike Leone, head coach, told us earlier today in the sports bar. UPL to get the start for the Amherst coming up tomorrow night. Syracuse is the opponent. We'll have that one for you beginning at 7 o'clock. The NBA season beginning tonight. Houston and Oklahoma City. Golden State facing the Lakers. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome to Happy Hour. Thanks for joining us in the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us and listening along. If you're driving around at 95.7 FM, AM 950, you're free to download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. You can even watch the sports bar. We stream live every afternoon from 3 until 6 on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. Danger here, Battaglia there. Toronto north of the border celebrating today. George Springer, an absolute postseason assassin. And the Jays, for the first time since 1993, are back in the World Series.
Yeah, and look, you could just say, I'm a Yankee fan. I don't care for the Jays. And I'll listen to that.
Of course.
To a certain extent. But this has been a lot of fun, Danger. And I'm going to read you this stat that I just personally find kind of mind-blowing. And you know how much I love trivia. And as soon as I find it, here we go. Okay. Just only two hitters in Major League Baseball history that through their first 10 career playoff games have at least 17 hits and 2 or fewer strikeouts. Ready? Thurman Munson and Ernie Clement.
That's our guy.
17 hits, 10 games. 2 more last night.
That's our guy. We like that. So Ernie Clement is in the World Series. You know who else is in the World Series for the first time? And this one shocked me. And I still can't believe Don Mattingly has never been in a World Series.
You know what's funny? Like, executive producers are like, wait a second, he's a Blue Jay. Like, there's a lot of casual fans that don't realize that Mattingly has been the Blue Jays bench manager. And every time I see him in Blue Jay gear, I'm like, that's wrong.
Right. Well, I
if you're
felt
a
that
Yankee
way.
fan, that's like, what? That looks wrong.
I felt that way when he was in Miami. I felt that way when he was Dodgers. Like, it's just anything
How is he
outside
not
of
the Yankee
right,
manager?
anything outside of pinstripes doesn't feel right for Donnie Baseball. I think the answer to your question is this is the first time he's been in the World Series. If you want to be the Yankees manager, maybe you should be in the World Series a little bit more than this being your first time.
So Mattingly didn't make the playoffs until his very last season, and that was that crazy loss to Seattle, and the Mariners winning that one in 5, and that was it. And yes, he was out there in L.A., and this is before the Dodgers really got that ownership and started pouring all this money into
That's right.
it. So, and then, what are you going to do in Miami? You took the job down in Miami. You can't win down there. So,
well, Friday night it all gets underway in Toronto, and as exciting as last night was with Springer and I mean, if you're a Seattle fan, Springer just snatched your soul. You felt pretty good. J-Rod goes yard, and then the big dumper goes yard, and you're like, it's our night. It's our night until it's not. And the Jays now will host the Dodgers, and I'm going to hold true and still say that the Dodgers sweep. I would love to be wrong. I want this to be a competitive series. I hope it is a competitive series. I know we have some people in the building that are, plotting and scheming their way to get north of the border to get to a game, which I think is fantastic. And I would be jealous of anybody who gets to go to a World Series game. Having gone to a World Series, I know how much fun that is. That atmosphere is electric. But it's still the Dodgers, man. And they just feel, to me, they feel unbeatable.
It sounds expensive, but it's not. The get-in price for Friday night game 1. Want to take a guess, Mike Danger, or anybody else?
The get-in price, not like decent seats.
No, this is the minimum.
Because I heard somebody in the hallway say $2,600.
Oh no, that's not what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's a lot.
$1,100, but that's Canadian. So look, 29% the exchange rate right now.
Go.
So like
there's the argument. If your wife is like mine and she watches every cent that goes out of the bank account, you can make that argument. The exchange rate is never going to be like this. I mean, this is the time. This is the time to make this investment.
Well, you've been to a Super Bowl. I've never been to a championship.
I've got the trifecta.
Actually, check that. I was at the Sabres and Stars. So
I've got a trifecta. I've got everything except for an NBA final under my belt. The Super Bowl, Stanley Cup.
Oh, you went to the – how could I forget? You went to the World Series.
And the World Series. Yeah. And it's – it is. If you have the opportunity to go, if you have the means to go, by all means go. I mean, we've got a couple of guys here that are Jays fans that want to go see it and be part of the action. Man, that would be a lot of fun. I just – don't feel great about their chances. As much as I want to root for Ernie Clement, and I will root for Ernie Clement, and I'll root for the Jays, that's the evil empire over there, and they've got a lot of really good baseball players.
Game, the get-in price in L.A. $736.
Really?
Danger,
the exchange rate.
That's it.
It's about what you would pay.
And plus, hey, we've got one of these already, and it was the Yankees. It is Toronto.
Yeah, it's Friday night. There's a new restaurant opening up we got to go to. The Dodgers will always be there.
There's so much to like, and if you are funny how this whole nation is behind the Jays. Like you could be a Calgary Flames fan and watching this, and a home hockey game in Calgary across the country, and everybody's going crazy.
I thought it was a bad omen when Vladdy showed up wearing an Austin Matthews jersey before last night's game. I'm like, ooh, that's not good. But exercise some demons. They get the win. And by the way, hockey, speaking of hockey could take a page out of the NBA, which, by the way, gets underway tonight. Is there anything else happening tonight for the sports craved fan?
Well, let's go. I'm sure there's a MAC football game on the schedule tonight. In fact, there's two. Kennesaw State and Florida International. Can I introduce you in that on ESPN2? Maybe Western Kentucky and La Tech, Louisiana Tech.
I just think it's hilarious that the NBA smartly says, you know what? The World Series hasn't started yet. There's no real football going on. It's a Tuesday night. We're back on NBC, Round Ball Rock, and John Tesh performing on the Today Show. Let's go ahead and start our season, and they are, and I think that's smart. Meanwhile, hockey has this as they get their season started.
And the Blackhawks return to the ice Tuesday, NHL opening night against the defending champion Florida Panthers at 5 Eastern, 4 Central on ESPN. Triple header that night. Penguins, Rangers, Avalanche, Kings. Ben, I know you got an opinion on this. Panthers three-peat this year. What do you think?
If you say so. I mean, good luck to them. Are you asking me if I'm going to be watching?
No, I know. You'll be watching, of course, because you work for ESPN. You'll be watching Friday night.
There is zero chance I'll be watching. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Where will you be?
I will be somewhere, but there's zero chance I'll be watching.
All right. Thanks, Ben. We'll be watching. Thanks for the rating.
Hockey can't get out of its own way sometimes. The NHL cannot, not hockey. The NHL can't get out of their own way sometimes. That's unforgivable.
That's a bad broadcast partner, and that's ESPN where they have to. Hey, they had 4 series going on at once, and we're going to whip together these broadcast teams like Ben McDonald. They didn't do a national broadcast.
I mean, I give them credit for at least promoting opening night during the baseball postseason. But that's not the promotion you want. And by the way, NHL, maybe find a night where you're the only game in town, like the NBA did tonight. Makes a lot of sense.
I'm going to give the NHL a pass because they did the right thing. Hear me out. players in the Olympics. So if you look at the schedule, like, oh my gosh, there's no Sabres hockey, there's no NHL hockey for 2.5 weeks. Oh, that's right. It's the Olympics coming up. Well, how do you make this work? Okay, well, you would have to like basically start the season when they did Danger. So like the idea that start the NHL season and
let's bookmark this conversation and revisit it in February during the Olympics. When are the Olympics? February, January? February.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see. If the Olympics can live up to the Four Nations tournament, if we can see that kind of action, then I think a lot of people will be gripped. I think a lot of people will be into it. Otherwise, wake me up when football season is over.
Well, I know this has become the thing in sports, right? Houston and Oklahoma City.
It's your defending champion.
I know it's okay. Okay, put the Lakers out there. Put Luka out there. Like, I don't care about Kevin Durant. And yes, Houston's this up and coming team, but that you could have done better for an opener tonight. Put the Knicks out there. Put anybody other than Houston. I would listen to 10 other teams other than the Houston Rockets. And then if you want to stay up late tonight, Golden State and the Lakers. Okay, well, you should put Golden State. The East Coast still runs the world here, Dane. All right? So, and I know Oklahoma City is this great, fun team, but
they're the defending champs.
Yeah,
Of course they're going to be on. I know you don't want to watch OKC, but they are the defending champs. They're going to be on. It's their kickoff. Round ball. Cue the round ball rock, Gino. You're going to get OKC and Houston.
John Tesh. I'm a man of many talents, Mike Danger.
I'm the guy John Tesh replaced because I passed away. Pillow talk. We want you to grab your radio, pull it close.
That was actually
pour your bubble bath. And then pull the radio into your bubble bath while it's plugged in. Pillow Talk with Alan Allman.
You were jealous. Like, I always listen to that. I'm thinking, that's easy. Just put on the fake voice. Yes. Welcome.
I think the female equivalent of is Delilah. She does kind of like the same shtick, except she's a female.
I'm going to give advice,
yeah,
and everything is all good, and maybe you had a bad day today, but
good
tomorrow's...
enough. Yeah, John Tesh doing round ball rock on the Today Show. I don't know who that's for, but the NBA is back tonight. On a night where there's really no other action, I'll probably tune in and see a little OKC. I'll tune in for a little round ball rock tonight, see what NBC has to offer with the NBA returning to the Peacock.
This could be a freezing cold take. Ready? I'm throwing the flag on this Max Crosby trade chatter. Yes, the Raiders don't look like they will be contending this year. Yes, if the Raiders were actually looking to the future, you might actually see, okay, can we put ourselves in a better position for the draft? You just committed to this guy as a cornerstone. He's still only 28 years old. And this idea that, hey, the Cowboys are interested in trading for Max Crosby. To me, this feels more like the Cowboy fan echo chamber that, hey, you know what? We're still hanging around here. If we could add one piece, well, that would be something. I'm not buying any of this chatter, Mike Danger. Yes, could you pull it off in theory? Sure, I suppose. A lot of things in the NFL you could pull off in theory, but I don't even want to entertain this from a Bill standpoint because you know what? I don't think it's real, and maybe this ends up being a freezing cold take, but if your buddy says, hey, the Bills should go trade for Max Crosby, look at Dallas trying to do this. Didn't we just go through this in February and he agreed to sign for the money in Vegas?
Had a fun conversation earlier with Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard talking about the Buffalo Bills and mentioning targets for the trade deadline for Brandon Beane. And I think a lot of us through the beginning part of the season said, you got to go corner. You got to go, bolster up that secondary. We could always use another pass rusher. And Perino even kind of did an about face saying, I think another weapon for Josh Allen would be good. If you get another receiver, you get somebody with speed, you get another weapon for the quarterback, and that's probably a good thing before the trade deadline.
Well, let's go through the list here of the base personnel for the Buffalo Bills. And by base, I'm not talking about Dawson Knox, right? He's the backup to Dalton Kincaid. So Dalton Kincaid is tight end 1, having his best year. Khalil Shakir is your slot guy. He's good, Danger. He serves a purpose. He moves the chains. Okay, this is where it gets a little more difficult, right? Because, and James Cook, we can't forget. Yes, absolutely. A healthy Josh Palmer, we're talking about a replacement an upgrade over Keon Coleman, right? Like Keon Coleman's skill set for where he's at, he's not a boundary guy. I don't know what he is at this stage.
He's what everybody pegged him as he was getting drafted by the Bills. He's a big slot. That's where he succeeds.
They don't use him.
And they're not using him as that, which is madness. Here's the thing with the receiver talk before the trade deadline, and they might do it. I'm not against getting more weapons for Josh Allen. What you have right now is what you had last year at this time. And what you had last year at this time was good enough to make Josh Allen the MVP and get you to the AFC Championship game. So at minimum, you stand pat at wide receiver. You could expect you would get similar results to last year, would you not? Amari Cooper made a couple of plays, but was he really a difference maker? So do you need that? Do you need Josh Palmer healthy? Because I think Palmer, to compare rosters from last year to this year, Palmer is an upgrade over Amari Cooper, in my opinion.
So the Bills back at work tomorrow. We almost forgot. Oh, yeah, he had an ankle injury, and that was high ankle. And they didn't tell us anything. They didn't need to, but we're going to learn a little bit more from the practice report tomorrow. I don't want to see Tyrell Shavers as part of any Bills set, honestly. It's a fun story every summer, but
he does so much more than just catch, Gene. I mean, you don't understand what he brings to the offense.
When I look up in the dictionary the word consistency, there's a pic. That's a real quote from McDermott.
Yeah. I don't know if you had this coming up in shots or not. It's something that we kind of knew, but were sworn to secrecy when it comes to the Rochester Nighthawks.
Oh, no, I didn't, but no secret.
We have labor peace.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that is absolutely happening. So home opener December 20th. They open up a few weeks beforehand, and today free agency opens up. So, okay, let's see the land grab. This is good because now we don't have to be Buffalo Junior or the AAA team for the Bandits. I know that wasn't the case, but I always felt that the Pagulas were paying a little more attention to the team that made them money in Buffalo compared to here.
Do you think they were paying more attention to the Bandits than they were the Sabres? The Sabres, the Bandits were selling out.
What you were paying the Bandits players compared to
the margins, Gino.
Yeah.
The margins for the Bandits, Pagula's eyes just get wide.
Well, that's pretty much the only market. Maybe Denver at this point still too. But everybody else in this league, Danger, it's not pulling them in. Can fans come back to see the Nighthawks downtown? That's the question. Are they going to, what are the plans? I can't wait to hear.
Let's get to a round of shots next. We have RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas joining us before we close up shop at 6 here in the Sports Bar.
Yeah, so we'll give you a little bit on the World Series. Yes, we'll talk about that hockey team down the road. We have a new NBA season tonight. Hey, the Giants, you may become a San Francisco Giant fan when I tell you who they're targeting to become their next manager, Danger. And then also baseball fans, what happened 50 years ago today?
Oh.
Your pop quiz. Baseball writer will wax nostalgia.
I can't believe you're only going back 50 years. This game has a long, rich history and tradition. We should be talking about things that happened 75, 100 years ago.
Mike Danger, if you were a little nicer, if you were a nicer person, maybe.
I want to see Arson Judge back on the diamond immediately. Oh, excuse me. All right, we'll be back in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
update.
Bills getting back to work tomorrow, coming off the bye. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky today on One Bills Live, talking about the opponent's defense.
Buffalo is going to see more abnormal defensive line movement than they have all season long. Carolina does a lot of unique defensive line movements. They'll almost do like run games. And so that creates just a lot of chaos. And so from an offensive perspective, it's like, what scheme do you feel can handle that initially?
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is down with the Amherst on conditioning. He's here at least the one game, and according to Mike Leone, who joined us earlier here in the Sports Bar, UPL to get the start tomorrow night. Syracuse is the opponent. That begins a stretch of 3 games in 4 days for the Amherst. NBA season beginning tonight. Houston, Oklahoma City, Golden State facing the Lakers. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Listen to 95.7 The Fan Rochester on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps, and take the sports leader with you everywhere you go.
We'll get to RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas for last call here before 6 o'clock. First, a round of shots in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I find this amusing. Like, in this day and age, social media, like, if you have something to say, you can go say it. This courtesy of Mr. Unlimited, who's now a backup quarterback with the New York Giants. Let me just read this, and then you can give the context, Danger. Classless, but not surprised. Didn't realize you're still bounty hunting 15-plus years later through the media. Hashtag let's ride. Crying emoji. Laughing. Crying emoji.
Let's ride. Let's ride.
Broncos.
Let's ride.
Perfect.
Okay.
One more time. Broncos country. Let's ride.
Broncos country, let's ride.
That's our guy.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Perfect.
Broncos country, let's ride. Broncos country, let's ride. Ride. Let's ride.
Yeah.
Let's ride.
So, the context, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Sean Payton, when he was asked about the Giants after the game, say, kind of wish we had the chance to play against Russ?
You'd rather play Russ than Jackson Dart.
Look, a couple things. One, clearly the personalities between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton just weren't ever going to work. One guy comes off as, I'm a steamroller, I'm a bully, I don't care, I'm just going to be who I am, and who I am is I'm gruff, and that's Peyton. And Russ is comes off a bit narcissistic, just a little bit. Me first.
Russ uncoachable? Is that fair?
Maybe now. I don't know that he was uncoachable early in his career, but I think he got an ego. I think his ego got out of control, and this is probably killing him. In fact, it's killing him. Why? Because he's a petty little bitch going on X to send out a subliminal tweet about his former coach. You petty little bitch.
Just to bring a bounty gate, which how many years ago was that?
And by the way, to bring that up, bring that up. What does that have to do with anything that he said? All he said was, we would rather play the lesser quarterback. I think any coach would say, if we had a choice, we'd rather play the backup. We would rather play the backup quarterback. It makes life a little bit easier, doesn't it? Guess what, Russ? You're the backup quarterback for the New York Giants. Jackson Dart is better than you are at this stage of your career.
Do you want to be mad when Jackson Dart goes into the tent against the Eagles and Russ is in there? Brian Dable's losing his mind. By the way,
fans are losing their mind. Booing. A shower of boos upon Mr. Unlimited.
Nothing ever came of it, by the way. Dable confronting the doctor there.
No.
Who
was the doctor that got him back on the field that quickly, by the way? I'm just curious because it feels a little bit fishy. Do we know who the Giants doctor is?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick.
Oh, that guy. Okay. What a petty little bitch Russell Wilson is.
99% of AI stuff I'm not a fan of, but I had to laugh at the You don't know what it is. It's a doctor, and you see a player down, and you're inside a blue tent. It opens up the blue tent. It's Dable yelling to get back out there.
That's good.
That's hilarious.
That's AI at its finest. Yeah, there's plenty of that out there. Yeah, that is Russell Wilson being a teenage girl. Congratulations, Mr. Unlimited. You really felt that was necessary? Way to show Sean Payton that he still can get to you. And he got to you again.
Right. Your World Series schedule, games 1 and 2 Friday, Saturday in Toronto, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, games 3, 4, 5 in L.A. That'll be interesting Monday. I mean, World Series or Chiefs, that was Mike Danger's survivor pick against Washington.
Our survivor pick, Gino.
I'm along for the ride, buddy.
That's okay.
If we need games 6 and 7, they're going to be back in Canada. Game 6, Halloween night. Game 7, Saturday, November the 1st.
Halloween night, that'll be interesting. What do I do? Do I put on Nightmare Before Christmas on the projector for the kids trick-or-treating through the neighborhood? Or do I put up Game 6, if needed, for the dads walking through the neighborhood trick-or-treating with their kids?
Or do you put on Syracuse football against Belichick?
Oh. That's the options. Lots of options.
There was a Sabre game last night.
Stop.
Well, with everything going on, you might have missed it. They lost 14 in Montreal. Kulik and Kozak, the goal scorers, a couple ex-Amerks. Canadians with 3 third-period goals. Speaking of former Amerks, it was a game where Zach Metza, the Amerk captain this year, he made his NHL debut. Buffalo now 2-4 on the season. They're back Wednesday night at home against Detroit.
Nothing to say.
We move on.
Yes.
As the curtain goes up tonight on the new NBA season, here's a refresher on everyone who went down with an injury last postseason.
Oh, wow.
Halliburton out for the year with a torn Achilles. Same injury for Dame Time. He's back with Portland, but that doesn't even matter. He's not playing. It was an ACL for Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie, no timetable for his return in Dallas. Oh, and you can't forget about Jason Tatum in Boston being gone either. 7:30 tonight, Houston, OKC. That's on NBC, Golden State, and the Lakers to follow.
The Round Ball Rock is back on NBC, but boy, there's a lot of stars there, man. That's tough. The NBA will be fine, but these teams that we expect, whether you're talking about Indiana or you're talking about Boston, like losing those stars is going to hurt them this season. That's not going to be an easy thing for them to overcome.
The East feels like
wide open.
Yeah, wide open. Like, wait a second, how is Orlando the best team, or Detroit, or like
it legitimately could be Orlando, right? Like you could make that argument, and I'd listen.
San Francisco Giants are hiring a guy likely you never heard of. University of Tennessee baseball manager Tony Vitello.
Hey, it's me, Tony Vitello.
Of course they're hiring Tony Vitello.
Of course they're hiring me, because I'm Italian.
Vitello, now, this isn't official yet. If it happens, he'll be the first manager in Major League Baseball history to jump directly from the colleges to the big leagues without experience in a professional organization. His buyout with the Vols is set at $3 million.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about my buyout. It's none of your business. And don't ask me about the dip I got in my lip. You think it's chew. I'm telling you it's not chew. I got a meatball in there. It's okay. Just keep moving on. The Giants are going to win the World Series this year because Tony Vitello is Italian. Go on, Paisan.
We want this to happen, don't we?
This is my new guy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, if we're gonna
Tony Vitello? Are you serious?
Tony Vitello.
Hey.
Tony Vitello.
Hey. Paisan.
Tony
Who's
V.
hitting cleanup for the Giants? I'm interested all of a sudden. Let's go, Tony.
Tony V.
Hey, Tony V. Don't worry about it. That ain't Gatorade in the cooler. That's marinara. Let's go, boys.
Finally, the answer to our trivia question. Baseball writer would love this. 50 years ago today, Game 6 of the World Series at Fenway
Park. The clubhouse
Park.
smells like Aqua Velva over here. I'm going to pull up at my iRock. What do you want? It's me, Tony Vitello. We're going to get a whole roster of Paisans. Don't worry about nothing.
I mean, you're going to go from Italian cooking in Knoxville to the Bay Area. I would think that would be a little bit better.
It's a little bit better, but, it doesn't matter. I make sauce at home. I make gravy at home. Because I'm Italian.
It was Game 6 50 years ago today. Carlton Fisk waving the home run fair. The Red Sox win, but the Reds would come back the next day to take the World Series in 7 games. 50 years ago today.
I can't believe that happened. And Carlton Fisk. Can't believe it.
Well, all the stories I've heard about Carlton Fisk, just a Class A jerk, I guess.
Carlton Fisk was a terrible human being. Carlton Fisk was horrible.
Fisk.
That's what I said. I mean, maybe if you're a nice guy, you would, forgive me. But Carlton Fisk was great. Loved his time in
You sound a little
Major League. Oh, excuse me. In Major League Baseball, I can't believe you would only go back 50 years. This is a historic game.
You were a baseball writer in the show today. I'm not going to let you off the hook for that. We're doing the Perino interview, and all of a sudden Danger runs out of the room. I'm like, what?
Oh, I had a stomach cramp.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you for not annihilating.
Can you? I mean, that was executed with haste. Didn't miss a beat. We're professionals here in the sports bar. So much so that we're going to segue to RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas.
Who, if he's listening now, like, I'm going to forget about this interview.
His last name doesn't end in a vowel. He's safe. Matt Thomas, RIT men's hockey coach, stopping by the sports bar. Next on The Fan.
Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's the last call on the sports bar. Let's check in on the state of RIT men's hockey. Fresh off a big win for Brick City at Blue Cross Arena, Gino, we welcome in men's hockey coach Matt Thomas into the sports bar. Hey, Matt.
Hey, guys, how are you?
Matt, congratulations on that nice win. Before we look ahead to Air Force this weekend, so after 20 minutes of play, look, Kurbacek, I thought, kept you in that game. You're down 1-0. Clarkson comes out. They have a few odd man rushes, which, quite honestly, they kind of farted around on. And then the game flips. All of a sudden, it's Tiger hockey and everything. What turned it around for your team in that impressive win in the Brick City game?
Yeah, it was certainly a slow start for us. I think there was a little bit of nerves. Like, you're playing a big opponent, and it's a big stage, and I think the guys had a little hesitation in them. And one of the things that we talked about is, we needed to be a team that kind of closed a little bit quicker, both defensively and, on the forecheck. And sure enough, we come out of the first period there, first two shifts, we give up 2 3-on-1s just on total, like I couldn't have lost my mind anymore about the detail of it in between periods. But you know what? It happens, right? Guys go through, and guys they're trying to work as hard as they can and make and impact the game. And they make, we get some duplication there, create some odd man rushes. They didn't execute, which we're lucky enough. And obviously, Kuba played really well in the pipes for us, so that was huge. Gave us enough time to settle in. And our senior line, I kind of sat some lines, the guys that are supposed to be our go-to guys. I parked them on the bench for a couple of rotations there early in the second period and double shifted some of the guys that I thought were playing well, that aren't your normal go-to scorers. And, that awesome Brimmer goal with Adam Jeffrey and Phil Jacques in that second period kind of got us on the board, settled the group down, and then went back, and it was a huge goal by Isabel, who's one of the guys that made one of the mistakes on the forecheck to put us up ahead in the game 2-1. So really happy with the response that the guys had, for sure.
Yeah, and for some of the younger guys, their first experience, as it was your first experience with Brick City, but to see guys come through, talk about some of the first-year players, a few of them getting on the board in terms of the goal scoring there for you, Coach.
Yeah, you know what? It's one thing that I thought we've done a really good job of through 3 games was, playing within the structure that we want to play. Our execution at the tail end of that has kind of been a little bit missing, right? It's like maybe we're doing things a little too quickly, or we're holding on to it a little too long, one of the two. And, offense takes a lot of chemistry, and to see those guys complete some of those plays at the other end of the ice, just some good hard work, old-fashioned, some tic-tac-toe goals. Like we made some really nice plays, and we needed our upperclassmen to help kind of get us there. And it was nice to see our newcomers, all join in on the fun. And we had three first-year players scoring their first goals of their careers in that game. Pretty cool stage to be able to do it on.
Yeah, so now you take on Air Force, and you look at this team like, wait a second, they took Omaha to overtime, they took Denver to overtime, splitting with St. Thomas, which St. Thomas is, they're certainly a good program. What are your thoughts here about bringing in Air Force this weekend, Coach?
Yeah, well, you know what you get when you play an Air Force team. They're not going to go away. They're disciplined. They're extremely hardworking. They're going to give you everything they have, and that's a lot. So for us, I wouldn't sit there and say, outside of being at home for these first 5 games, that's the only good thing about these 5 games is that we're at home. We're playing some really, talented and hardworking teams that don't give you an inch. So we've got to go earn them, and it's going to be no different this weekend against Air Force.
Yeah, we're talking to RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas here in the sports bar as 7:05 against Air Force Friday night, 5:05 on Saturday. Back to Brick City there, as that was so much fun for all the Tiger fans. Got the tailgate, and just what was that experience like for you. And you're an RIT alum that never really had the chance to come back to these, but I'm sure you got to see a lot and hear a lot from Tiger fans last weekend.
Well, I've heard from the alums year after year. Obviously my brother, who's not only is he an alum, but he also coached for 4 years with me and then with Wayne Wilson for Wilson's first 4 years of his career. And he's been to a bunch of them. He brought my nephews down when he was living back in the Toronto area. So he came up this weekend. A bunch of alums that are local guys that I played with were here. And then we had, with Matt Garbowski going into the Hall of Fame, we had a bunch of guys from that era and a few guys from the 2010 Frozen Four era. So we had a pretty good showing of alums come in. It was a great environment to be around. You could feel the energy. It was unique because I had my brother in town. We drove up together just so we had one car up there for the game, so we didn't both have to find parking. And so he dropped me off at the rink, and then he walked over to meet a group of people at a neighboring restaurant, and you could feel that it was a little bit of a bigger deal. Like you could feel the energy outside the building, and then when you walk in, you start hearing the people come in, and you start seeing all the RIT jerseys and the band, and it was a cool atmosphere to play.
Yeah. So 7:05 Air Force on Friday, 5:05 on Saturday. I'm assuming you're going to go with Kurbacek on Friday, or do you not make that announcement just yet, Coach?
Yeah, well, you know what, I don't maybe, but you have to go back with him. He's he was a difference maker. He's played really well in his 2 starts. At some point, we're going to want to give other people some opportunity, but like anything in that position, you go with the hot hand, and he certainly has earned that opportunity to be called the hot hand. So, I'm not afraid to say that he'll be in the net on Friday for us, but we're looking forward to. One thing that kind of unfortunate for us is we had that Sacred Heart series, but RIT students were on fall break, so didn't really have that feel. I'm looking forward to seeing the Gene packed and filled with people. I'm hoping maybe Saturday, got a little bit more excitement towards the team, and we can pack the building and have a good turnout for this Air Force weekend, because that pushed us. There's no question the crowd and the energy in the building helped push our team when we needed it most there in the second period to kind of create that little cushion, and then we kept it going in the third period because the crowd was electric. So hoping to see it again this weekend.
We'd love to get not 1 win, but 2 wins at the Policini this weekend. Coach, thanks for your time. We'll see you Friday.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
There he is, RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas with Air Force in town this weekend.
Didn't talk about the Moose Burgers because he would have been left out on that. So,
did you have the Moose Burger?
I did.
And can I get a verdict?
Kind of tasted like a hamburger. I could taste it just a little bit. So, if you told me basically, okay, it's just going to be
gamey or hamburger,
I would definitely have it again.
You would have it again.
Yeah.
Did you dress it up? What'd you put on it?
Nothing. Just raw.
No ketchup, no mustard, no relish, no onion.
Okay, because what is the Mike Danger philosophy when it comes to condiments? Condiments are for children, basically.
Well,
you like ketchup?
I just think,
you like it?
Yeah. I mean, like, you could say, oh, that Moose Burger was great, but I doused it in ketchup. It's like, well, you didn't really eat the Moose Burger.
Yeah.
You ate the ketchup. You used the Moose Burger as a vehicle for what you really want, which is condiments. Just inject ranch dressing into your veins if that's the case, if you're putting that on your Moose Burger. Well, good. I've never had, so at some point I got to get a Moose Burger in my system. Got to get that in my life. Fun weekend ahead for RIT men's hockey. Appreciate Matt Thomas stopping by. Appreciate Amerks head coach Mike Leone, who joined us last hour. We had some fantasy football advice from Michael F. Florio from NFL Network, and Matt Perino covering the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard, also sharing his thoughts with us on the Bills returning from bye. If you missed those conversations, the Odyssey app with Rewind, you go back and listen to any part you may have missed, or find us wherever you get your podcasts. Search out the Sports Bar. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan.